I damn near, because like he's my real life homie, like, and I know so much of the lore because before we were homies, I was a fan of his for so long. Like, I could, this damn near could be like some Nardwuar shit. You feel me? Like,
we're already recording. Yeah, because that, okay, I was fully prepared to do this interview by myself, but then as I was going through your Wikipedia and I started to realize your battle rap roots and everything, I hit him up just to be like, give me some lore.
Yeah.
Tell me like what stuff I should ask about and stuff. And then he was like, you want me to do that one with you? I'm like, yeah, okay, that's iconic. Let's do it.
Yeah, and oftentimes he'll ask me about various people that are within my wheelhouse or whatever. But this is one of the only times where I've actually requested like, what's up? Like I should,
my guy.
You know what I'm saying?
My guy.
Because, like,
makes sense. Makes sense.
Because like it is kind of interesting for somebody who's done so many views on YouTube and has so much stuff that has made an impact out there. You haven't really done any like long form podcasts or interviews, right?
Not really. Not really. Just like Rogan and like maybe one or two other ones, but I've been just kind of.
And what year was the Rogan thing?
2015, I think, something like that. Okay. 2016, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, it was a while ago.
Was it literally just like him going through YouTube and finding one of your videos and being excited about it?
Yeah.
That's like the best way to get on Rogan.
Yeah, it was something like that. He hit me up on Twitter and was just like, hey, you want to come on the show? And it was like that. And he's like a fan. Like he's talked about me a bunch of times on his show.
That was like, was that Ellen adjacent? Was that like after the Ellen appearance?
Yeah, about the same time.
Oh, it
like,
was after that.
Both of those things were kind of at the same time.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was all kind of all connected.
But okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Tell me about your childhood.
Okay, I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. Grew up there, ended up moving over to the Kansas side. So if you don't know Kansas City, it's like one big city divided into two states. So there's Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. It's ratchet on both sides, suburbs on both sides. It's a real big metropolis area.
But Kansas City, Kansas is a little more rural, right? Like
it depends on where you go. It really depends on where you. You can't really put it in one box because there's too many different types of neighborhoods there. So it's hard to say, but you could get into anything you want on either side, and that usually surprises people. So grew up in Kansas City, started rapping when I was 16, and decided like I was going to make a career out of it when I was 18, dropped out of high school, and then.
Do you have any prior musical exposure?
My mom and dad are both guitarists and banjo players and singers. So I saw them like singing music in the living room before they split up. So I was into the idea of music.
But did you kind of intentionally reject the type of music that they were into?
Yeah, probably. I don't know if it was necessarily intentional, but it was not something I gravitated towards. I just loved, I would watch Public Enemy, Rakim, Eric B, KRS-One on MTV, and that's what I wanted to do. I love the sound of rap music, and that's always been the thing I was drawn to.
Were you conflicted about it from day one? Because obviously they were black and from more urban areas than you?
Nah, because like in Kansas City, there's a lot of black people, and I went to school with a lot of black people, so I was exposed to the culture early on.
Right.
So it was like, my friends, that's what they were listening to. So it wasn't like a thing where I was like, oh, my parents make this type of music and like this type of music. It was really more about what I liked and what my friends were listening to. So
and looking back on that era of hip hop, though, does it stand out to you as like, I experienced something extremely exciting and important? Because now hip hop is quite formulaic, and there are artists that come out from time to time that are exciting and whatnot. But like that era of coming out and seeing NWA and Public Enemy just like completely reshaping the culture in real time. Like when we think back on that, like we all kind of experienced that to one degree or another. I'm like a little too young to like remember it 100% clearly, but like, you know, that time in hip hop is like very special. I think. It
was incredibly special, and I think there's a lot of people that are still super attached to it to this day. Like people that are really into protecting the tradition and the culture of it, and things have evolved, and it's definitely different now, as you said. But I think that a lot of us at the time didn't realize how much of an impact that era was going to have on the rest of hip hop forever. Because there's still people now that refuse to accept any sound, any style of hip hop that doesn't sound like late 80s, early 90s.
How much of that is also like rooted in nostalgia, and that being like, oh, this is the first time I like fingered a girl, this is the first first time. You know what I mean? Like this song was playing in the background, Far Side passing me by. So now that's better than anything Chief Keef could ever do. Like,
well, I mean, it'd be like you had Lil Reese on the other day. It'd be like a kid that grew up and he was 16 years old listening to a Lil Reese record for the first time. Girl, like, it's just when you're that age and you're this emotionally raw, kind of immature kid, the music that you hear leaves a stamp on you. And a lot of people spend the rest of their lives trying to say that's the best music that's ever existed, but it's really, that's just the time in your life. That's when music hit you the hardest. We're in our 40s, you know, like shit. When's the last time you heard a song where you were like, and it like just ruptured you as a person?
The new X4 is crazy.
Is it? Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff that I go back to. This is a random one to mention, but the other day I listened to the Sublime self-titled album.
Great
album. It moved me to my core how solid that album is the whole way through. And it's just like, I see it with such different eyes than when I was 13 listening to that shit for the first time. And another one I went back to the other day that I was like, this is just such a one-of-a-kind album that could never exist in this way ever again was Wu-Tang Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Just the weirdest, like, to think that they like had like a #1 album or whatever, or this huge smash album in such a unique form with so many guys in the group and stuff, and that then they came out with this crazy double album that just had so many different personalities interjected into it, and it's just like the weirdest thing that like you probably will never see anything with such eclectic energy ever again.
Sure. Yes. I feel like the closest that we've come would probably be, and I know that they don't like when people say this, but Odd Future.
That came to mind too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's a big collective of a bunch of different personalities, and they have this kind of counterculture sound, and they came out and made that big of an impact. But it was the similar energy for sure.
And when you look at like all the sums of the parts, like from, you feel me, Sid with the internet, Frank Ocean, Tyler, like they've really made pretty much as much of a cultural impact on the overall landscape of music as any group.
Yeah, and all like, solo too.
Yeah,
so it's a similar thing where they come together as a group and they were this one energy, and then each of them to a varying degree had their own solo careers too.
8-person hip-hop group is not meant to last.
No,
it's a horrible financial decision. Right?
Terrible.
That, and it's just like you're so unlikely to find a group of people that are going to be able to stick together. Even the duos, even like
of course,
even like
you're right.
Migos over the years, you would just kind of look at them and be just like, wow, like they're gonna last forever because they're like the same dude. They're so similar, and they come from the exact same background. They've been together forever.
Well, they're family.
Yeah, they're family.
Exactly.
That's the other thing.
Like, but speaking of 8-man groups, describe the climate of the underground scene, like when you first started coming up out there in KC and the Midwest in general?
Well, so a lot of people don't realize this, but like Tech Nine was big in Kansas City before he was big in the rest of the United States and the rest of the world. So the underground scene was kind of non-existent. It would be something that we kind of had to build. But like with the emergence of the internet, not social media really, but the actual internet and like chat forums and stuff, we started learning
about Hip-Hop Infinity.
Yes.
Shouts to JC Graves.
Dude, even before that, there was like America Online had like an underground hip hop forum, and that's where I learned about a lot of this shit. And it was like, then tech was also bubbling, and there were other artists in the area, but for the most part, there really wasn't much of a scene. So we, like me, there's artists named Approach, Archetype. I could go on. There's a list of people that came up, and we kind of built a scene there.
And then you wound up having other fools like around slightly after you, around the same time, like Ubiquitous and all that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know,
so Ubiquitous is from Colorado, but like Cess Crew was a thing late 90s, early 2000s that they started bubbling as a group, and then Tech ended up putting them on like, I don't know, 2010, something like that, and they did their thing, but nasty rappers, like legitimately great.
Were you influenced more by like the mainstream stuff that you were listening to, or the more underground scene around you?
Both. I would definitely say both. I think that was one of the joys of being in the Midwest is we weren't really, you didn't have to be attached to any sort of sound or style, and so I've always been real open-minded to mainstream artists, underground artists. It really just depended on what it sounded like and if I liked it or not.
And would you say that you were gifted from early on? Did like it stand out to your peers that you were somebody who was better at rapping than most people?
Yeah, I think that I annoyed people at first because I used to freestyle and shit at house parties, and they'd be like, "Shut the fuck up," and then once I got better at it, then they would make me do it. And now they all show up to
Have
the
you
shows
watched
too.
Mac Lethal's battles from back in the day?
I haven't seen a lot of it.
Okay, so like the best way I could describe this guy and his rapping style, it would be like if Dennis the Menace was the most disrespectful guy and had no fear, just getting in your face.
Prankster energy.
Super prankster, like roaster, like jovial, but at the same time, like will say some off the hook shit. Wasn't afraid to like, you know, go for the jugular, like you know, like whatever. Didn't matter, anybody killer, whatever race you were, whatever like genetic proclivities or misfortune your facial features might have inherited is getting gotten to with Mac. And like, and then like little freestyle shit that he would do in the moment, which is super cool. I'll move on for this Glaze Fest in a second, but this dude like really influenced the out of me on the early Scribble tapes. And there's this one time this fool like was getting in his face and he was getting close, tried to push me. He backed up. He smelled his girlfriend's puss.
Oh, the crowd went
like the crowd went berserk.
No, that was
because it was like the perfectly placed punchline at the right time.
Yeah, that was the Scribble Jam days. So that was you know, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, we would hear these stories of this rap festival, Scribble Jam.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was the most prestigious battle rap, graffiti, DJ, breakdancing event in, I guess, the entire world.
And where did it take place mostly?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Eminem was in it. He made it to the finals one year. There's been a bunch of people. Rhyme Fest was, yeah, like
Juice,
Juice,
yeah,
Thesaurus, Illmaculate, Iron Solomon.
No Can Do.
No Can Do, of course.
I mean, like Slug and ID and all them were there, but your Sage Francis. So
Brother Ali, yeah.
The entire underground scene, the entire backpack rap scene of the late 90s and early 2000s, like I would say 80% of it that wasn't from New York or LA was birthed at Scribble Jam.
Yeah.
And a lot of those fools even rose to prominence at Scribble Jam.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was like a thing where, like, you know, like every Muslim person has to make a pilgrimage to Mecca at some point. Like, it's like every person that was into indie rap or underground rap at the time, you had to go to Scribble Jam. Like, that's just a thing that you had to do. And there were like 5,000 people there every year.
What year/age did you first go?
I went when I was 20, so that would have been 2001.
You went to college?
No, I dropped out of high school to rap.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Were you experiencing any success with it, or
locally?
Okay.
I saw, like, it was one of those things where I'm like, if I could get in front of people, I could probably create a fan base. I kind of felt like I think this might work, so I went for it. And Scribble Jam, the whole point of that was I figured if I could get on stage in front of a bunch of people and trash rappers and make the crowd go crazy, that was like a way for people to learn about you and a way for a large audience to find out about you. And that's how I heard of Eminem. Like, so I heard this dude Eminem got put on, signed with Dre. He made waves at Scribble Jam, so I'm like, all right, well, I freestyle against people. Maybe if I go up there, I could do something similar. And it was just more about trying to get exposure. I was just like, I'm not going to sign with a record label. I want to do this all myself from Kansas City. I don't want to move to LA or New York. So I'm like, I need to think of something. So I just went to Scribble Jam and entered and won it. I was in the finals He
almost won the first year, 2001.
That's
wound up losing in the finals to ADM.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, like Scribble Jam would always have a certain thing that was gonna make somebody win, like a style du jour. And there's like the early Scribble Jams, it was all about like style and flow. And Mac like ushered in like the punchline era. So like nobody was doing like punchlines like that really before. Idea a little bit, but it was kind of different. And he was really just straightforward. And so he almost won that first year, lost, and then the next year came back, you feel me, and wound up winning the whole thing. But first of all, I want to know this. How did you get the black eye? You had a black eye.
Oh, I got punched in the face. So that was
a black eye at Scribble Jam.
Yeah, so that was we were on the way to we were actually on the way to Scribble Jam, and we stopped to get gas, and we couldn't get our car through, and there were like 2 carloads full of dudes parked in front of our car, and I stuck my head out the window and I said, "Hey, get out of the way." And I didn't realize that there were like 10 people in both cars. I thought it was just 2 cars parked, and emerged, just massive. I'm talking, and dude, huge ring on his middle finger. He's like, "What'd you just say, homie?" And I was like, "Oh shit, this isn't good." My window was down. I was wearing flip-flops too. I'm like, I can't fight in flip-flops. Boom! Cracked me right in my face. I deserved it. I was out of pocket.
He just walks around the side of the car and punches you through the window?
Wait, so he just said, "What'd you say, homie?" And pop! And I saw white. Like, it was the thing where, like, I came to and I'm like, I think I got knocked out for a couple seconds. And then, but then I had this massive black eye for the entire rap battle. And
see, those kind of experiences should teach you humility.
You would think so, right?
And not doing stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
like we used to always, when we were riding bikes, we used to like yell shit at cars a lot.
Yeah.
And then like the first time that like a dude hit a U-turn and came through and like tried to square up with us, it's kind of like a reality check.
Yeah,
like,
man.
oh,
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. And you never know who's in the car that you're yelling at, too. I mean, this dude was huge and just this massive gold ring, and he caught me right here. And it was, I mean, it was over.
So, okay, when you drop out, you're just fully like in this world, like traveling and doing everything possible to try to make a name for yourself?
Bro, like we would go to cities, and if we could get on a show to perform, there'd be 10 people in the crowd, no money. I'd hustle CDs hand to hand. That was at the time you could make a lot of money off of CDs. So if I could like call somebody and be like, "Hey, can I come to the local rap show you're doing with a fucking MC such and such, whoever, go get on stage, give me 10 minutes to perform," if that's cool. I'm a dude. I was just in Scribble Jam, or maybe even before that, I was doing the like, I just want to show up and rap. I would drive, you know, to Omaha, Nebraska, get on a rap show, open for some local dude, and then ask somebody on stage, can me and my friends sleep on your floor? We'll, you know, clean your house, or we'll give you free merch or whatever. And we toured like that, like lost money just showing up to venues in the Midwest. Maybe go to Boston, take a Greyhound bus out there and just try to get on whatever stage we could and rap, and then just pass CDs out. And we knew, or I knew, that there's a group, Atmosphere Rhymesayers from Minneapolis, and the way that they built their own massive multi-million-dollar label is literally just passing CDs out. And every single person you give a CD to, that's potentially a new fan. And this is before iTunes, any of that shit. So it was just following that business model.
This is Napster.
Yeah, bro. There was none of that shit. This is like, people still listen to CDs and tapes. So you would give your music to somebody, and hopefully they'd listen to it and like it. And the next time you'd come through, you'd have a bigger crowd.
And were you like secretly like fantasizing about signing to like a Rhymesayers?
Well, I did. I ended up
in what year?
2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So not only was I fantasizing about it, but I ended up figuring out a way to make it happen, and they put one of my records out.
Right.
So, and then I got to tour with them. But it was just the idea was one fan at a time, give as many people my music as I can, get in front of as many people as I can, battling, freestyling, performing, whatever it is, and try to get one new person, two new people each time. And then hopefully over the years, I can build a fan base that I can make money off of, and that's what I did.
That mentality made so much sense to like the local bands that I was around, 100%. And to like up and coming rappers, etc. And then the internet comes along, and all of a sudden everybody becomes super conscious of scale.
Yeah, man.
And that just changes everything.
Changed everything.
Yeah.
And I've gone through many iterations of it, as of you. We're all in our 40s, so we've seen the different versions of it, but it changed everything, for better and worse.
When did you first start to get an inkling that the internet was going to be a big part of your career and promotion and whatnot?
Probably MySpace. I would say the MySpace era, when I would go to somebody's page and I would see like one of my songs on their page, or getting messages from people on MySpace, where if you put up a post and then you'd get, 50 replies from people, and I'm like, all right, this person's in Sacramento, this person's in Miami, this person's in Tokyo, and I'm like, I'm talking to fans that normally wouldn't be exposed to me, and I'm connecting with them, and I'm like, there's an upside to this for sure.
Yeah, going on MySpace and seeing the little red number next to your mailbox on there, that was like the first iteration of that feeling that we all have, that we will feel after this podcast, where you'll flip your phone and you'll see like, oh, I have 10 new notifications.
The endorphin,
Cool.
the endorphin rush.
That was the beginning of that
red.
feeling.
It was all about the red.
Yes.
Just seeing that red, and then when it was like all the notifications, you're like, oh shit, my MySpace is going off today.
And this fool had a fire song that he made for his MySpace. Yeah. Welcome to my MySpace page by Mac Lethal. Yeah. What's the other dude's name? His name is Joe Good. So he's an artist.
He was
raw too.
He was super raw. He quit rapping. He didn't like the dealing with people, but he's still a dear friend of mine, and he was one of the most. He could have been one of the biggest rappers in my opinion, but he didn't want to do it. But I made a song like "Welcome to my MySpace page," so that's the first thing people would hear, and it was all about
legendary.
It was all about doing little shit like that because I'm not signed to a label. I'm never gonna have any budget behind me. Nobody's ever going to put up money to put out one of my records. So I got to think of something other than just making an album and putting it out. I got to think of like little angles that I can take. Getting on stage and destroying a rapper, making a song that is about my MySpace page. And even though it's a little corny, but there's a purpose to it where some people get drawn into that and they're like, all right, I'm going to check out the rest of what he does. And I still have people that come to my shows now that heard of me on MySpace. So it's like building a lifelong connection with as many people as I can, and in my 40s still having a whole bunch of them still here has been and that's made millions of dollars doing it.
And even like you were talking about the rhyme sayers thing, that was pretty much, Adam, like the holy grail for everybody that was trying to do this little thing, and all the thousands of kids that made that holy pilgrimage to the Mecca of Cincinnati to like rhyme sayers was like the Garden of Eden. That's like the highest thing you could possibly attain at that point, from our mind states. And you wind up doing that, and then like through that experience, it seemed like you were kind of like, at what point were you like, you know what, like I want to do my own thing, like being on a label's not working out, I'm gonna launch Black Clover, like how did that all happen?
So rhyme sayers, Atmosphere at the time, like they were turning down deals with Rick Rubin. Like every major label was trying to sign Atmosphere, and they're like, we're going to do it ourselves. And I loved the ethos of that. And I was just like, well, if they can do that, I want to do that. Independence has always been, I mean, you get it. Like why answer to somebody else? So I knew that putting out an album with them would be a great opportunity because I could tour with Atmosphere, I could tour with Brother Ali, people like that, and be exposed to thousands of people every night watching me perform my records. So I did that, and I put out an album with them, and they were great, but it felt like I was going at somebody else's pace. It felt like I was still answering to somebody. They made all the decisions, and I'm like, man, this internet thing is going to end up being the only tool you need. You can use money and production crews and all these different things, but eventually music is going to be a thing where all you have to do is upload something to the internet, and the people that want to listen to it are going to hear it, and they may share it with their friends. And I saw that early on, and I went, I don't even want to be on an indie label. A major label. I don't even want to be on a small or big indie label. I want to just put my own money into this, put out my own records, and build my own fan base on my own, even if it takes way longer or I reach less people. So that's when I started Black Clover, because I was like, it was a great experience. I appreciate rhyme sayers for everything they did for me, but I can do this all on my own.
Because that idea was really like in the ether for like a lot of different sides of hip hop, because around that time during the MySpace era and everything, that's also like the Koch Records era where you have Jim Jones doing interviews talking about how he's making $10 an album, which was probably an exaggeration, but like for sure, like rappers were starting to really take control of their stuff. They're like in the
Jimmy,
aftermath.
You're on Koch, that's a graveyard, Jimmy.
But that's
a graveyard.
After the mixtape era where everybody was like giving everything away for free, but like in that era of like 2007 and 2008, it's like labels seemed so unnecessary for everyone besides like potential megastars.
No, facts. And still to this day. And that was an interesting strategy when Jim Jones did that, because he was like on the cover of The Source and then ended up bypassing major labels and just going through Koch and like almost resurrecting this label. But it did speak to that, where you're like, you got the internet, you don't need a label, because all they're going to do is take your music and upload it to all these platforms anyways, which you could do yourself.
And anybody that wasn't paying attention to Master P wasn't paying attention, period, because he showed us that 10 years before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, literally.
He sold like 100 million records, like independently.
Master P like understood the mentality of the internet before the internet existed.
100%, man.
You know?
Yeah. I remember the first time I went into Street Side Records in Kansas City and I saw the TRU records. I was like, what the f is this? Yep. There were 10 people in line to get the CD off of the shelf. Like that's what, and this is way before the internet, but I remember being like, I don't even know what this is. And there were people standing in line to pick the album up off of the shelf. And I remember buying it and being like, that's when No Limit took off. And it was, he got it, man. Marketing, putting all the other albums on the inside cover, like there were collector's items. And you had all these different albums. You're like, ooh, I like that artwork. I want to check that out. Like there was a whole strategy that he saw way before anybody else did it. And that's why he's blew the doors. Yeah, man, absolutely.
Facts.
As far as independence, for sure.
But okay, so when were you posting like original? Well, MySpace video existed. Were you posting up on there, or like when did you actually start a YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel started, I want to say, in 06. So it was even before I signed to Rhymesayers. My old YouTube channel is really old, and so it was like, at the time, YouTube was the dude doing the fucking backflip with the nunchucks and like weird videos like that. Like there was no partner program, there wasn't AdSense, it was just strange videos and 480p quality. And I think that it was really more of a mindset of if we make music videos, we can use this and upload it to them. And I didn't even know what the partnership I didn't know what the partnership program was until you motherfuckers on Grind Time signed with them. And I remember I remember this dude did a tweet one day where he talked about like Grind Time became partners with YouTube, and he explained that like every video that they uploaded was going to get a certain amount of money based on the plays. And I was like,
this is like
that's
before,
a thing?
This is before they cut back on their monetization and made it stricter. So like, you know, like they weren't deprioritizing edgy content. And it's like, bro, we were getting $20,000 YouTube
I know,
checks,
dude.
like, in 2009, you feel me?
But also before the battle rap leagues realized that this was not actually going to be enough money for them to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
But now, at that time, like I was like, oh, this is the most money I've ever seen. Like this is dope.
And
like,
it looked like the way that it looked like YouTube was going to go, it looked like it was going to be a place where you were never going to have to worry about censoring your content. They were never going to make it where you had to nerf your content like they do now, where anything will get you demonetized at this point. I mean, you know this. And it's at the time it looked like, holy shit, like this is like punk rock. Like we're going to all have our own channels and build up, just do whatever we want and make money off of it. And then the partnership program came, and then that's when people started kind of finally curating what they did, because it became more about people are desperate for views and desperate for every penny they can get off of videos, and it changed the way that YouTube went.
We didn't realize it was supposed to be like a TV network, you know what I mean? Like like channel, like that. I guess that word escaped us at the time, you know what I mean? Like
and from a BMX perspective, we really rejected YouTube because you couldn't really upload stuff with copyrighted music, and we were uploading to Vimeo where there was like no rules at the time, even though that eventually changed, and a lot of the classic stuff from my early era in like 2007 is all removed off Vimeo and shit. You can't find it anymore.
Damn. Okay, because Vimeo was clutch, but the thing that made YouTube cool, I feel like too, was it had the view counter.
Oh yeah,
the view counter was lit. Yeah.
That was like, oh, you could see, like I'm flexing on you. I got 180,000 views. Like shit, I'm a.
Do you remember? When did you start your channel? The No
14?
2000. No Jumper, I really started using it in 2015, but the channel had existed a few years before that. But the BMX stuff I've been doing since maybe like 2011 or 2012.
Did you ever have a video get one of the trophies that you could get where it would be like, so this is, a lot of people don't remember this, but so I have a video in 2011 that I uploaded to a Chris Brown beat where I'm like flipping pancakes and rapping. It's got like 42 million views, and it was the biggest video on YouTube in it was either the biggest video in 2011.
Gundam style, like type.
I want to say that. But what YouTube used to do is they would have on certain videos that were popping, if like your video was the most viewed video of the month on the channel, there'd be a trophy on the video that would say most viewed video of the month. And at one time I had the most viewed channel on all of YouTube of like, I want to say December 2011 was my channel, was the most viewed channel on YouTube. And if you went to it, there would be these little trophies that you could see, and I didn't know if you had ever gotten one of those.
I don't think so, but that's pretty cool.
You remember?
Yeah,
you remember that?
We used to get those too, because it'd be like if you're in the top 100 in a specific category or whatever, like, oh, you have the number 87 most viewed hip hop video. They still have it, like the certification, but it just won't have the actual little.
I remember when it used to be 5 stars that you could rate a video, stars, but then they realized that everybody was either doing 5 or 1, so they just got the thumbs up and thumbs down. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then they made it so you couldn't see the dislikes.
That's so stupid.
Even though there's plugins for it.
I know. I hate that. I hate that they did that. They've done a lot of things that I'm not fond of.
Yeah, because that in particular is something that's like anti-user.
Yeah.
Because the users like the dislikes, although in retrospect, the ability for like mobs of people to come together to dislike bomb videos, whether it's like authentic dislikes or bots, it is it's understandable why they wouldn't want to do that, especially given that they have all these corporate partners that are paying dislike bombs.
Get them brigaded and stuff.
Yeah, so it's easy to understand why they would do it, even though it does suck for the users. But then also it's like it's a Chrome extension away, so anybody who really like wants this information is able to get it. So.
The thing I don't like is like I do a lot of DIY projects, like renovations at my house, and if I go to a video and I'm watching a dude teach you how to, like wire a circuit or something like that, but he's giving bad information that's dangerous. There was a time when you could see and it'd be 90% dislikes. So you're like, all right, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. And it was useful in certain degrees. Because I get the what you're saying 100% true. Like dislike bombing is bad and they need some sort of protection from it. But then also it's like, there's certain information that we need to know, like the general public is trashing this and to stay away from it.
There's been many times where I clicked on like a hip hop news type video where the title seemed too salacious and I'm like, he punched him in the face?
Exactly.
And then you start to watch it and immediately your radar starts going off and you go look down and it's like, oh, 10 times as many dislikes as likes.
Yes.
And the comments are turned off. Boom. I'm X'd out.
Which
like, I already know it's bullshit.
If you just,
comments off is the new way.
Comments off,
But if you just saw like all red and just a little bit of green, you wouldn't even waste your time on the video because you like everybody's saying this video and so it was an interesting time for sure. But they used to do these trophies and it was wild. It's wild to watch how it's changed over the years because it eventually became this thing where now every 10-year-old kid on earth wants to do nothing but be a YouTuber. And there was a time when it was like this almost like punk rock avenue that you could use to put your content out.
And you were having a hard time probably explaining it to a lot of the people in your life.
Yeah, like it made no sense. But I was real early on it, and I've had like
you never had ambitions of being like a YouTuber.
I was on YouTube.
That wasn't even a thing yet.
No, it wasn't a thing, and I had like millions of views before the word YouTuber was even. I had gone viral on YouTube multiple times before I ever even heard the term YouTuber. I didn't even know what that was.
And that's the thing about you that's been interesting to me is how I've watched you react to each change in like the guard as far as platforms and technologies or whatever. Because like I discovered this fool on Napster or LimeWire. You know what I mean? There's like a little clip that said like Mac Lethal rap battle or whatever, and then like it was an audio clip of you, and this is probably in 2001. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
And then so like okay, so he's already got content out on there, and then like the pivot to AOL, and then to the whole Phila Flavor, the websites, and then to MySpace, and then to YouTube, and you always found a way to like stay alive and ahead of the curve somehow.
Yeah. I'd say that that's one of the things that I've done well. It was actually, I was thinking about this on the way here, that I think the thing that I respect about people nowadays at 42 the most is people that know how to die and have rebirths multiple times as entertainers, creators, musicians. It's cool when somebody blows up and you're like, oh wow, there's this new person and they're doing their thing. But I'm like, I want to see what happens over the next 15 years. Let's see how many different hornet's nests you can step on and how many times you need to reinvent yourself because the platforms change or I mean, that is the thing that is most impressive to me now, is somebody that can die and be reborn multiple times and stay afloat because of how everything changes.
And because I see that with rappers, like now that I'm tapped in enough where I'll see where a rapper will go cold, not put anything out for a couple years, which is understandable that you want to give your fan base that sort of like, you know, room for their curiosity gap to emerge. And then they come back, and sometimes I'll see it where I can tell, oh, this rapper's PR company has bought posts on a bunch of different Instagram pages for the last couple weeks, and that shit doesn't seem like it was really connecting. And then you'll see the rapper put out like a single where there'll be like an underground rapper, and they'll do a song with that underground rapper to try to like get a little bit of his like youthful clout. And then I'll watch them just fall back and just kind of realize like, oh, it's not going to work right now.
It's not going to work.
Like, we're going to have to figure out a new strategy, a new sound, etc. And like, I'm talking like huge rappers.
Yeah.
I've seen them because they're buying the post from us sometimes, and then they just fail at it. And it's like that ability to get hot as a rapper, if you're going to have like a 10-year plus career, is like such an asset and like something you're going to have to be able to figure out. And but now it feels like rappers typically like engage with a really superfluous version of that, where it's basically like, I'm going to talk shit about some guy. I'm going to like have some half-baked relationship narrative. You know, it's like these super obvious things to me that it's like really hard for me to even take it serious at this point.
Once you hit reality shows, it's kind of,
oh God,
it's getting dark.
Yeah,
but like it's so rare that you see like a Rick Ross or a 2 Chainz or a, you know, Rock Marcy, who had like a little spark in the 90s and then fizzled out, and then boom, 12 years later, crack off. You don't really see that too often anymore.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
it's interesting because rap is in a lot of ways a youthful genre and culture, and there is an age where you see a lot. I always, when I see these young kids pop off, I'm like, it's going to be fascinating to see how they navigate that inevitable shift where their fans start having kids, getting older, outgrow the energy, where there's people that are like, I don't want to be ratchet and violent anymore or whatever, and there are some people that are very skilled at remaining afloat or figuring out what they have to do and reinventing themselves, and then there's some people where they just vanish and you never hear from them again.
I mean, even like the SoundCloud era that we kind of came up documenting, it's like looking at it now, who's legitimately still got like big careers. It's like Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi, and granted there's like a few other people in there that would definitely almost certainly still have big careers if they hadn't lost their life early on, but it's still like you had, you know, hundreds and hundreds of interviews that we did during that era, and there might be 2 dudes who still have a career 10 years later.
What do you attribute that to? Like, what do you think that is?
It's just like, I mean, so much of the energy at that time was like, you know, here's a new type of beat that you haven't heard with the bass distorted, and like here's a new weird flow where they're saying A at the end of every bar, and it's like, you know, this kid has pink hair, this kid has a face tattoo, and that was all like very interesting at the time. And it's funny, like, because now you see rappers come out all the time, like that's just not a way to get attention anymore. Right. It's just not that interesting to people. But then like somebody like Carti consistently reinvents his sound. Somebody like Uzi consistently makes big hit records, even though he has his own weird ass style. I mean, it's just extremely difficult to pull it off, and then you're also like always kind of like a year or 2 away from being obsolete if you fall off or whatever.
100%.
You know?
I heard Jay-Z a long time ago, this always stuck with me, is he said the key to longevity is making sure your fans have a legitimate emotional attachment to you, and that all the other shit doesn't matter. And I would say that Carti, Uzi, people like that, their fans are, it's not just the trend of it. It's not because that's who everybody else is listening to. Their fans are tapped in on an emotional level. They really fuck with it as people. And that transcends generation. It transcends trends. Everything is these people are like, nah, like Uzi is my guy. I'm going to ride with him forever. His music gets me through hard times, whatever it is. And that's why some of these cats can really stay relevant.
But I'm consistently shocked with Carti in that way, because it's like, it's 2024, but in 2015, he was seeming to have this effect on the underground.
For sure.
And still to like young kids now, a 16-year-old kid, Carti seems like a fucking the coolest rapper in the world, even though I've been watching his career for like almost 10 years.
My 11-year-old loves him.
Yeah,
it's like, it's that shit where I'm like, what is that? He's really good at understanding what the kids want.
And he comes off young to these kids, even though he's really not. I mean,
he's still relatively young, but like
30 or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But still, that's in rap years. That's he's a senior citizen.
For a 10-year career or an 8-year career.
The thing is, he's like really good at sustaining this aura of mystique. You barely get to see his face. You know what I mean?
Which is probably a part of it. Is you don't really know what he looks like. He's not
also
sitting there
only
on
28.
Yeah. Well,
still close enough.
I've been said that Playboy Cardi probably has, of the past 10, 15 years, the best marketing I've seen from any rapper. I think maybe the last one that impressed me to that degree was A$AP Rocky when he first came out. You know what I mean? I think since then, Cardi's kind of
He's really good at keeping his mystique. There is a mystique to Cardi, and he shows up on the right albums with the right features where, Kanye comes out with something, and it's almost like Cardi is more favorable even on Kanye albums, and he's really good at protecting his sound and his mystique, and it's helped him stay up, and it's been surprising.
He's able to do this thing that we have absolutely no chance of doing as podcasters / YouTubers. Like, it's just you have no chance. But I noticed you didn't drop anything on your YouTube channel for 2 years though, so you've kind of given it a shot.
So it was a move. I moved from Kansas City to Chicago, and took a minute, and it was really more like I started seeing YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all these things. I see a certain way that they're going, and I'm like, okay, this needs to go a different direction.
Should I keep playing this game? Yeah. Considering that you were so early on it, and now it's kind of become very predictable, formulaic, etc.
Easily. It really has. And so it's really been more of a conscious step back, risking what you're talking about, where people step back too long and then it makes everything go cold. But I'm going like, I see people that are slaves to YouTube, and they wake up every day and it's what they're just, get me to this many subscribers and I just want this. And I'm like, man, like YouTube could just click one button and demonetize you. And that to me doesn't feel like you're really in control of your own destiny. It's a huge asset. It's a great tool to have. But I was falling victim to the idea of just YouTube, make the YouTube big. And it started scaring me, where I started thinking like, wait a minute, like I don't own YouTube. I'm just another channel that they could take away whenever they want to. And so it's really been trying to study and understand what I think is going to happen next, because it can't all just keep doing what it's doing now.
Was it partially just the fact that you were part of this YouTuber thing when it appeared, when it felt like a punk rock movement, when it felt like, oh, this is a new avant-garde way to put hip hop out there into the world, and now it just doesn't feel like that?
Yeah, no, 100%. It was, that's a part of it. Also acknowledging that it's still valuable, but being like, this isn't the YouTube that I came up on, or that what I saw on YouTube, I now see it's just a completely different thing now. And everybody has a channel, and everybody's desperate to get their 100,000 subscribers, their 1 million subscribers. I find, and I'm not going to say everybody does this, and I think to a degree you almost have to, but I find that there are a lot of videos that come out that are unnecessary, and that people are making them because, well, they don't want to lose their place in the algorithm. But it makes the content shittier, because it's like people are pumping out videos and it's like, we're just doing this because we're going to be financially hurt if we don't. We're going to lose our traction with the followers and the algorithm if we don't. So it's almost like you become an employee in a lot of ways.
And from my perspective, like, if the fans feel it when they watch a podcast that I'm just phoning it in and that you don't give a and that this is just something that you got to do as a job, I mean, you will start to hemorrhage viewers.
Big
they
time.
Can smell it a mile away.
Yeah,
you don't want to be here. Shit, I ain't got to be here either.
They know. They'll let you know too. Yeah. And it's like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, hang on a minute, like, let me sit back and see how this unfolds a little bit. I relocated from Kansas City to Chicago, and just had other things going on, and I'm like, I can chill for a second, and then now I kind of back to it.
I still want to go through like the trajectory of your YouTube channel, because what were the first videos that actually took off? Also, do you care if we smoke cigarettes?
No, go ahead. Oh, good. I appreciate you asking, by the way.
I was waiting. Like,
it feels very inappropriate to do it around someone who might be like visibly not stoked on it.
No, it's fine. So my first minor hit on YouTube, if I would call it that, is I did a forgive me, I think who made Looking Boy? What's the name?
Oh yeah, Boy.
It's not Hot. Is Hot Style?
Hot Style.
Okay,
dude from Chicago. There's a Looking At Boy.
Do you remember that? Like,
I remember this, but I don't remember who performed it. Yeah.
Okay, so they're a group called Hot Styles. They had this song
it's like
called
Hot Style.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
They had a song called Looking Ass Boy, where they were like, black looking ass boy, fat looking ass boy, and they would like went through, and it's a really funny song.
Donnie in the gray hoodie looking at boy.
Yeah, I made a song, so I did a freestyle of that, playing around, like totally f***ing around, not even planning on this, doing anything. I did Looking Bro, where it was all the different types of like frat bros, Guidos. So I did, frat looking boy, like, and I went through the whole thing in the similar format, and I had pictures of each one, and that completely blew. Yeah, it was like the first time I ever got 100,000 views, and this is when 100,000 views was a lot. This wasn't like it is now, where people do that shit in 5 minutes. This was like 100. I couldn't even. I thought it would get like 5,000 views, something like that, and just be funny. And I uploaded it. And I don't know if you remember, there was a blog in the early or late 2010, like 2007, 8, called The Dirty. Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of
course.
Nick Ritchie, he would like put people.
Because Is Anyone Up was basically like the punk version of that, but The Dirty would smear all these chicks from like the club scene.
That's right.
I'm surprised you're not on The Dirty.
Oh, I used to look at it every day for a while before Is Anyone Up came out.
No, yeah, but I'm surprised that like you like weren't.
Lore, I did a podcast with Nick Ritchie that he never put out for some reason back in the day. Yeah, he had a podcast for a period of time, and I don't think it ever came out. Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Interesting.
That's amazing.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah. Interesting dude. He put it on The Dirty, because I take a lot of shots at like frat boys and like dudes that are at bars, like 30K millionaires, the VIP guys. It's making fun of those dudes.
The bottle service weenies.
Bottle service weenies. He took the video and he put it on The Dirty, and he was like, "This is hilarious," and it helped blow it up. So like, shout out to him.
But that's super interesting that from the very beginning, your ability to present like a black art form but speaking on the white experience was like a very unique thing that you still to this day will see work for people.
Yes.
Well, he
absolutely.
also the thing that's cool about Mac is there's two big, and I hate to like break down very difficult artistry components as in such a manner, but quote unquote parlor tricks that rappers can do to make anyone excited, and that's one is rap fast, the other is freestyle. This fool happens to naturally
do both of them,
do both of them at a very highly proficient level. So.
Things that are like generally considered extremely impressive, but that the core of hip hop, as the years have gone by, has kind of lost interest in.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It's passe at this point for sure. Like because people will tag me in videos all the time. We're like, look at this dude rap fast, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. Like I came from the Midwest. Tech Nine, Twista, Bone Thugs. That's chopping. That's one of the. That's just a sound there. It's not a thing that anybody really gave a about, because that's what we grew. Like Tech Nine was doing that shit on crazy styles, and it was just part of it.
The West Coast and the Midwest were the original chopper. You feel me?
All facts. Freestyle fellowship out here. Like so. But the thing that you just said that's interesting is it was like, I think at some point it hit me that black folks and people that are of the culture, they see this as just another thing that's part of hip hop. There's a whole audience of people out there that it's like catnip for them. They're like, oh my God, look at this white guy rap fast. And they think that it's amazing, where to people like us, we've heard people do it for years. I mean, in first Bone Thugs album, I was like, holy shit, Busy Bone is going off.
But if Twista had the foresight that you had, and Twista had been like nimble enough with his team to start a YouTube channel back then, imagine the channel that he would have been able to create if he had sort of realized that opportunity.
And the only other thing that might have been his downfall, which is where it's something that I benefit from, is it might be the fact that I'm white. So they're looking at that going like, this is a white dude doing it, and he's rapping crazy fast, and it's super impressive. But if people didn't care about that, if that wasn't something that was attracted to them, like Twista would have blown the doors off of this
Who,
shit.
by the way, has my favorite rap verse of the year thus far.
Really? What
Twista?
song?
Has an amazing feature, and it's going to sound funny. It's not a Joyner Lucas song.
Oh,
you feel
shit,
me?
okay.
But he bodies it.
Twista bodies shit, period. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa. This
You
Bro.
can definitely still do that.
Yeah.
Adrenaline Rush, his
what I'm saying.
debut like major label record is like one of my favorite albums ever. It's and moving to Chicago was crazy because I would drive around Chicago listening to it, and I'm like, the sound, like it's a new way of
Go to
listening.
Kankakee, you feel me, and slap that Twista Adrenaline Rush.
So Twista, Adrenaline Rush, and then Tech Nine, The Calm Before the Storm, like the albums that he put out locally before he blew up big.
Before like Tech Nine, Einstein.
Yeah. No, that was on Angelic.
Yeah,
that was his
fine.
first like bigger national record. But he had records in Kansas City where he just put out independently in Kansas City that we all love, like hundreds of thousands of people listened to that the rest of the world had no idea.
Like Rogue Street Villains.
Oh, 57th Street Rogue Dog Villains. Yeah, so that was his group that he came up with. They had a hit in Kansas City called Let's Get F***ed Up that was like every high school kid in the entire city, in the suburbs, everywhere you went knew the song. You drive 5 hours to St. Louis and people are like, who? Like, it's so, the point being, parlor tricks, the word that you used, that was one of my mechanisms of survival, is doing shit like I can rap fast. I could make something funny where I'm appealing to a different demographic, because I know people that are into VIP bottle service, and a lot of rappers may not know the like douchebag guys with the $200 Armani shirt with the gelled hair. And I made a song dissing them, and Nick Ritchie posted it, and it blew up on YouTube. And that was like the first time where I was like, interesting. So like the other stuff that yeah. And I've had stuff get way bigger than that, but that was an important part of my YouTube career, because I saw like, if you make something that people treat as not necessarily clickbait, but it's something where they need to share it.
Relatable. Yeah. Shareable.
Shareable. Where they're
Speaks
like,
on their existence.
Yeah. You got to see this. I'm like, it hits harder and is bigger than just making a record where you just make a song about a girl broke my heart, or I'm riding through the streets with my homies. I'm like, there's something here. I'm talking about something. There's not a lot of rap songs, if any songs about this, and it makes people really excited. And the
platform kind of allows for that too, because it's like, yeah, maybe people wouldn't have wanted to hear a 60-minute album about that, but they'll listen to a 3-minute song and then share it. Do
a little 2-minute, and the quality, like the other thing about it was, this was when we all kind of realized, like, you don't need to have an expensively produced video. You can make these DIY quality, just kind of shitty iMac quality, because the video I'm talking about, it has like old grainy pictures that I took from the internet. It doesn't look like there was any money, but like it looks like $5 was spent on it, but it still went viral. So that was like, okay, so you don't need to do a full studio produced video. You can hit with low quality 480p videos.
But this era, you're not making any money off YouTube.
No, that wasn't. You couldn't.
What year was this?
2008, 2009.
Okay. So you're a few years away from being able to monetize.
Yeah, but it was something where I'm like, all right, there's like viral. The idea of using YouTube as a way to go viral with raps, where you didn't have to make them in a conventional way. I'm not saying nobody had done it, but it wasn't like a popular thing. People would upload music videos to YouTube, but they were the videos that you could put on TV. This was shit you couldn't put on TV. It was too low quality, but it was funny and people still shared it. And I realized it was like, okay, like it was like in in Boogie Nights, where they realized like nobody gives a fuck about how much money you spend on the porn. It's just, they just want to see people on film. It was that. It was like, people don't care.
So that first success, what does that do to your brain going forward, and how hard do you start going from there?
It makes me realize that like, this is an era where if I'm going to be an independent rapper and never try to sign with a label and never try to get on the radio, and I'm going to try to build an audience organically, I'm going to need to use YouTube as a tool. And I don't need to do it in the way that every other musician and major label artist has done it in the past. I can do this my own way, and I can make my own type of content, and also like upload vlogs. When we had those flip cams, this is before you had a camera in your iPhone. Using it for that, it makes me realize like I have an audience that's starting to tune in. I had a message board at the time, and I'm like, I can speak to these people and connect with these people myself, and I can bypass needing a label. So I started uploading videos like that, where it was less about the production quality and more about, is it shareable?
Does it seem like this is actually useful from early on in terms of promoting your actual music?
Super useful. It was like, if I can get people to tune in, maybe 20 of them will watch a video because they think it's funny or silly and it's viral, but maybe 2 of those people will come to the show and buy some merch. And that's what would happen, is I would see like the numbers.
You're turning out some fans.
Yeah, man. Like, it started working. I'm like, okay, like, people are seeing it. They would show up to my shows and be like, we saw the thing on The Dirty. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Because I did a video where I spent $15,000 out of my own pocket, and we hired a production crew and we filmed a whole music video, and it has 1/5 of the views that this Lookin' Bro video had. And I'm like, so there's a way to it's almost like a hack. I'm like, okay, if I can bypass needing to make singles and get on radio and get with labels, if I can create viral content and reach them. So it was
the same way you realize, like, hey, one person, like, I could do one battle and get
same thing.
20,000 more people, 50, 100,000 more people watching it than a performance or this or that. Is this simultaneously during the text from Bennett thing? Because that's a super creative. Are you like familiar with the text from Bennett?
So
thing?
that actually, you know what? I gotta. Joe Rogan found out about that too, so we'll talk about that. So I had a blog. This is one of the craziest moments of my whole career. So in December 2011. And just so I don't go off the rails, like, I had used YouTube. I'd had a couple videos blow up where I'm like rapping fast, and they got like 6-7 million views.
People don't believe that he's rapping so fast. They have to have a count, like they thought I was speeding the video up, so I had to like hold up a stopwatch with my iPhone to like actually show people that I can do it. Wow. So I had that happen a few years, still doing the same thing with YouTube, getting millions of views at the time. And then I have a Twitter account and a Tumblr page that I use to upload screenshots that my cousin Bennett would send me. And he's terrible speller. Yeah. And Crip, wannabe Crip white dude from the kind of suburb, white trashy part of Kansas City.
Right.
He would send me those screenshots and I would repost them on a Tumblr
So
page.
is Bennett a real guy? Because there's all these like rumors that you made Bennett up.
So the funny thing about Bennett is a dude I went to high school with.
Okay.
All right. And I can't say his actual name, but there's Bennett in his name. Okay. So I'll say that much without, because I can't, he's a real person.
My name is Bennett. I ain't been in it.
That's right. So I upload that, and then I upload the video of me flipping pancakes to the Chris Brown beat at the same time, and both of them blew up. At like the text from Bennett, I want to say the Tumblr page got 80 million views in like 6 weeks or something like that.
It was insane.
It was the #1 thing on Reddit, and then my pancake video was the #2 thing on Reddit. So at one point, I was on the front page of Reddit as I had text from Bennett as #1, and then my pancake video as #2 at the same time. So it was like, I charted on Billboard just as a social media. Like, they gave me a ranking in Billboard. They hit me up and they're like, hey, you've had so many views on both of your things that you're technically like a celebrity on Billboard just for 1 week.
You're on like the Heat Seekers chart.
No, it was something like that, where I was like with Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga for 1 week, and then I fell completely off. But it was like I was on this weird Billboard chart for having so much attention all at once based on 2 different projects that were simultaneously running. And
but that's kind of funny though, right? This fool like literally made how many of those texts were real? Were some of them like fake at a certain point? Like,
hey man, hey
yeah.
Don't ask me to.
And then how did that wind up become like getting parlayed into a book deal?
So WME, William Morris Endeavor, reached out during the height of Text from Bennett and the Pancake Rap, and they were like, we think that there's multiple TV shows here about you as a person, and then Text from Bennett as a scripted show. So there was like the idea of doing an unscripted show about me and what I was doing with YouTube, and then taking Text from Bennett and turning it into whatever we could. So it ended up becoming a best-selling novel with HarperCollins, and then also becoming FX bought the rights to make the TV show. And it ended up dying in production, like before it never became a pilot, but FX bought it and they were going to turn it into a show based on the book. So a blog, a Twitter page / Tumblr page became a book, became a TV show.
But you still got paid for the idea of them almost making it, or
got paid.
them having
I would have got paid a lot more if it would have come out and blown up. But yeah, I mean that the book was crazy money, and like bought a house with it, and then the script or the scripted TV show based on text from Bennett was they bought the rights. It was good money. FX paid good money for it, and then I had a show on MTV also that went 2 seasons. So I did a pilot where it was about me and my kids and my baby's mom, and that died in production. But then using YouTube, I started uploading videos where I would go out on the streets and interview drunk people and ask them trivia questions.
Oh, okay.
And that turned into an MTV show.
That turned into a whole YouTube / TikTok genre still to this day. Yeah, there's so many people that built careers off that. Andrew Callahan built a career off that.
Dude, MTV
started with that.
They canceled it, so they ran it for 1 season. It's called Binge Thinking. It was super funny, and then we made the 2nd season, and they canceled the 2nd season before it came out to bring Jersey Shore back.
Wow.
And I remember being like, you guys have no idea like this is the thing now, like what people want to see their friends just saying dumb shit on camera, and they didn't get it, and this is why MTV is no longer a thing. But I'm like, listen, like, don't cancel this. This is gonna become a thing where we can put it on the internet, clips. So they didn't want to do that. Like
that concept still works. Just this week we had the Hawk Tuah girl.
Literally,
it's like literally interviewing drunk people and getting them to say stupid shit. Yeah.
And look, like it wasn't the first man on the street show that ever existed, but it was a thing where I'm
David Tellish.
Yeah. But it was, and we would go city to city, and like we'd go to New Orleans, we'd go to Scranton, Pennsylvania, and we'd go out on the town and take a camera, and we would be drunk, and then the people would be drunk, and then we would give them money if they got questions right, and they would always say stupid shit. And we had all these different games we'd play. Like there's a game, it doesn't sound funny. I actually hated the idea when they pitched it, but it's really funny where if you get a question wrong, you get smacked with a fish. Like, so there's somebody holding a full fish, and if you get a question wrong, bam, and it sounds stupid until you see it, and it's like one of the funniest things. And I would be like, we need to take these and take clips and put them on Twitter, put them on not even just YouTube, like put little 10-second clips out. TikTok wasn't even a thing yet, and they're like, no, we're gonna keep it on TV and only show it. And they didn't get it, and then they canceled it, but I got paid for that too. So that was, it's all turning YouTube and all these little ideas and making them as big as I can. And so,
and at what point, like, so me knowing your ethos and your whole, you know, origins, and you breaking down essentially like this whole punk rock trajectory from and your whole ideology, at what point, like when you're getting reached out by these major outlets, and then boom, Ellen hits you up, like how do you kind of like wrap your head around the fact that, okay, like I really came from like the very bottom, the under bowels of the industry, to now literally the biggest daytimes.
And the Ellen thing was spurred by what video?
So I had a video where I rap, and it was originally, I got to give them props, it was a Blackalicious video. There was the idea. I didn't use their lyrics, but it was, the concept was like an alliterative, like A, B, C, rapping a bunch of A words, rapping a bunch of B words, C words, going through the whole alphabet, and then it progressively gets faster and faster and faster. And that was, so like the
R.I.P. Gibbs a Gab.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pancake video that I was talking about earlier, that video, that got like 20 million views in like a couple of weeks, and then like a year or two go by, and I upload the alphabet video, and that did like 1 million in like 4 hours. I remember it was the first time I ever uploaded something. I was like, all right, let's see how it does. Hopefully it gets, 60,000 views after a month. And I uploaded it and went to bed, and then woke up like 4 or 5 hours later, and it had 1 million views. I was like, what? I refreshed it thinking that it like YouTube broke. I was like, this can't possibly be a thing. Like I did not just get 1 million views in 4 hours. And this was like 2013, 14, something like that. But that's what happened, and it blew up. And then like Carson Daly hit me up. I went on his show. Ellen hit me up. So Ellen was just like, their people hit me up, and they're like, we want to have you out. We want to fly you out. They brought me to the studio, and put me up in a hotel and flew me out, and I performed on the Ellen show, and so that was crazy. It was just another thing. It was just like another achievement of knowing that I never signed a major label, stayed right there in Kansas City, and did this all myself.
But when you're doing stuff like getting all this mainstream attention / doing the book deal and all this TV development and stuff, like we've seen a lot of that like derail people's YouTube careers. Yeah. Did that kind of happen to you, or did you keep going with that as well?
Nah, man, there was a time, I think I had been around so long and gone through so many different nights of wishing the shit would work out, and years of you know, seeing, you know, MySpace vaporize into nothing, and then Facebook emerge, and then like I've just been around for a long time, and I try not to get too high or low when anything like that happens. I get excited about shit. You know, Rogan hits you up, he's like, come on the show, you're like, yeah, even coming on here, like this is like, it's all these different things where it's like, I'm a fan of these platforms, or acknowledge that they're big platforms, and getting to go on them is like yet another achievement. But I try to keep it all in front of me and just be like, listen, like this is what I'm here for, and I'm here to promote my voice. So
as you mature, it's like, even if you get an opportunity to do something that's really, really big, you kind of learn to like not treat it like it's that big a deal.
Yeah,
you know?
You have to, because the converse of that is when you treat things like they're big deals, then when you hit a valley, it hurts.
You still want to be all right with yourself.
Yeah. So I found that if things do well or things do poorly, I try to stay as even as I possibly can, because it's the safest way to try to have longevity.
I've learned that from being a poker player, is that it's easy to have a good night when you're winning. But the guy who can have a bad night and lose a bunch of money and still have his head on straight, that's like a real skill. That's a real professional. You know?
And you got to have some bankroll too.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. You got to be able to have to be able to sustain that.
Yeah. And I see a lot of rappers, and this is the thing that fascinates me, kind of what we were talking about before, about like younger kids that blow up. I look at if I see some 19-year-old kid and he's got a hot song and his career takes off and his Instagram is, you know, 2 million after a few months, I'm like, okay, that's great. But then I see he's 19 years old, and I'm like, just knowing what happens in life outside of music that would derail somebody's life just by working as a real estate agent or something. But then you have all these people that will turn on you in a second. You make one wrong move this way, you say the wrong thing, you talk out the side of your neck one day, you make the wrong video and people don't like it, and you'll alienate all these people. And it's like, or like what you were talking about earlier, people, they step back a little bit, then they get cold, whatever it is, some sort of controversy happens. It's always interesting to me, because I see people blow up and I'm like, eventually there's going to be some sort of fork in the road, some sort of ravine that you're going to fall into. And the people that last are the people that can climb out. And it's not everybody can. In fact, most people can't.
But did you experience that kind of stuff early on? Because, you know, the underground rap world is not necessarily going to be mega friendly to people who are taking on these mainstream looks.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was like the first times that I ever went out on like a solo tour, like after Rhymesayers put out one of my albums, and I toured with Atmosphere a bunch, and I was in front of, you know, 2,000 people a night. And then I remember in like 2007, 2008, going on a solo tour and hoping that the shows would be just jam-packed with people, and then pulling into a crowd and there'd be 13 people there. And I'd be like I have all these things happen, and I'm in, you know, Lubbock, Texas, and there's 13 people and I got to perform. And I'm like, those nights hurt. And it hurt you in a way where it just humbles you. And it's one of those things where I think just feeling like, okay, like always remember, you never know what's on the menu for you that night or that day, and that just stay humble. And instead of being like, there's only 13 people here, being like, well, okay, there's 13 people here, go out and perform for them. You got to work harder, you got to go harder, you got to humble yourself, and not think that you should just walk into these venues and there's just a line out the door. And because you heard this rapper 2 weeks ago had sold the place out, and you're like,
Moneybag Yo sold it out, so
Moneybag Yo sold it out, why didn't I? Yeah, like, so that was dude, I'll even tell you, funny enough, I played at a place called Trees in Dallas. I want to say 2011. This is maybe before the pancake thing happened. I might be getting the years wrong. I've done this a long time. But I played at Trees in Dallas. I headlined, and there were like 80 people there. And I remember I was kind of down on myself. I'm like, man, like, that's not good. And I remember one of the bartenders was like, why was there only 80 people here tonight? Didn't Mac Lethal sell the venue out 2 weeks ago? And a person that worked there goes, no, that was Mac Miller. And I remember being like, man, like, so not only is there only, but now I got to know that Mac Miller sold this shit out just 2 weeks ago, and like, he's younger, and but it was just like one of those things where it's like, that's the type of shit that toughens you, and it's like, yeah, man, you're gonna have that happen. You're gonna
build your self-esteem on the way people are reacting to your music or career at that moment. Yeah.
You'll never survive. And again, it's really important to not let the good things that happen to you take you too high. You really can't, because you will crash back down.
And something I'm curious about you, like you talked about your fans growing with you, or growing with any artist, right? Like back in the day, battle rap was very inflammatory. People were like, we would say things that we wouldn't say now. You know what I mean? There's certain racist or jokes that can be considered racist now, or homophobic words that we just were a part of our everyday lexicon. How did you kind of navigate, like, all of a sudden, boom, you got the Ellen DeGeneres stimulus pack. You have a whole bunch of wholesome soccer moms that are now looking up Mac Lethal, this great nice kid we just seen rap the alphabet.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at this video of him, screaming the F word in somebody's face, battle rapping. Like, but was that kind of difficult to navigate? Like
I mean, it was just a thing where I'm like, listen, like I loved battling coming up, and it was a thing that I really loved. But it also, there was a point with battling where I realized, like, if you only talk like this, there's going to be a limited amount of people that connect with your stuff. So I think there was a point where I realized, like, I want to branch out a little bit more. And it wasn't, yes, I like destroying a rapper on stage, but I also had other things that I wanted to say. And it was like, it wasn't about appealing to other people. It was, I don't intrinsically have the need to call somebody the F word, like, every day of my life, and that's the only thing I want to do. Like, I was like, there's other energy that I want to explore as an artist. So it was easy. However, I will stand on, like, if you saw me on Ellen and you're like, oh, look at this nice boy, let me look, and then they see one of my battles. If you don't like it, that's all, like, that's the sacrifice. Like, I'm not going to sit there and try to, like, scrub the internet of that shit. It's like, you got to know that that's how I came up, and that's what battle rappers do. We can destroy each other with words, and you can't be, if that type of stuff turns you off, you're probably not going to be a fan of what I do. Even though it wasn't
difficult to navigate that.
Not really, man. It was just more like, I'm not going to do that in everything I do, but it's like, also, like, if you get offended by that and you find one of my old battles or something, it's like, look, man, like, that's going to be, that's just the relationship that you're going to have with me, is like, oh, I don't like this, but I do like this, or I may turn you off completely. I found doubling down on the shit that I believe in, and saying the things that I believe in, will bring a certain amount of people, and then other people may be turned off by it, and it's just part of the game. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't have that aggressive, like, there's battle rappers where they have to battle, like.
Yeah, of course. They're lifers.
Yeah.
Disaster is the perfect example.
Disaster will never not need to destroy somebody verbally. It's just what he does, and he's so gifted at it. So it's like, I don't have that makeup in me where I need to say that. And I actually appreciate the fact that people like him exist, because I like to watch it, but I'm not always in that space. So it wasn't too difficult.
What was the year that you made the most money off YouTube, or where it felt like it was reaching its crescendo?
So it has to have been, 2000, well, it depends. So YouTube strictly, or because there was a year, like, when I did the pancake video and sold Text from Bennett, and I got like a Heineken commercial based off of that, which was like 100 bands, like, just to come and appear in a Heineken commercial. And, like, there were different things like that where, like, a bunch of money would come in. But then I've had years where like I was really super active on YouTube and had like lots of videos that popped off, and the AdSense and the brand reads would stack up. So there's been probably 2012, but then also like 2016, 17, 18 were also real good too. So it depends. Because YouTube, even making money off of YouTube has changed, because there was a time when it was just AdSense, and then I started seeing people like incorporating brand reads, and I mean, the money you get for one video, you sometimes like give us a 30-second integration and they pay your mortgage for 6 months, and it's like, you can't turn that shit down. So when that stuff started popping up, I would take deals like that too. So there is a few moments, but I'll say that it's definitely when I'm the most active and trying the hardest to put out content, that it also always runs directly parallel with how much money I make. Like it's crazy how it works.
Adam, did you see the most recent video that this fool uploaded?
I did, but I have a couple more questions before we hit that. Okay. That's obviously going to be a whole thing. But have you always felt like you were kind of in battle with your stuff being corny? Because it's like, obviously you can take it in the corniest direction possible, and that's going to appeal. If you want to do stuff that's going to go viral, go mainstream, etc., you can always kind of lean into that. But then you also have the set of values built into your head as like a real hip-hop guy that doesn't necessarily want to go in that direction.
Yeah, so the corniness was a deliberate decision of me looking at myself in the mirror and going like, I can't pull off I used to be in the fucking motels cooking birds, and even though I'm white, like I grew up because there's white rappers out there now that they are fully bought into selling you that story, where
Millie's, you feel me, like OT the real, like some of those, like, you'd be like, okay,
you're like, man, and it's like, to me, I'm like, first of all, I don't have that background. That's not my story. But second of all, I'm like, I don't think I can sell that. And also, the other thing that we were talking about is if you're the white rapper that flips birds and was in the Motel 6, you know, fucking 3 days, no shower, selling to crackheads, and that's your story, you got to tell that story for your entire career. And you got to floss, and you got to dress a certain way. And it's like, one of the things I thought is like, if I want to do this when I'm 45 years old, there's nothing cornier to me than a 45-year-old rap artist that's still bought into that, and I don't think I can pull it off. So I'm like, I think I have a better chance at actually trying to pretend that I'm more of a cornball, or maybe that's what I am, and like actually catering more to a nerdier, whiter audience than I do trying to go street with it.
It's pretty crazy, because if you were to list off like the top 50 white rappers, none of them are really like gangster. Like there's not a 21 Savage, you know. You have the lyrical geniuses type dudes, you have like the cool player Paul Wall type dude, but I've never seen the audience really resonate with a white guy who's either telling you what a, you know, and you mentioned OT the Real, and he's fire, but like to see the, if he was like huge, I would agree with you, but some, you know, it's just like they don't really want to hear a white guy be the killer or the drug.
It's a ceiling.
I don't know. So like the audience can't fully go for that. It's like a white guy is not really allowed to exist in that space, or at least we just haven't landed on the guy who's an authentic enough version of that / good enough
to where it just takes off to another strategy.
People accept white boy rappers for a long time as like the psychopath, like the Cage, Eminem archetype. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's always about, look, man, like I want to be able to sleep at night and genuinely feel like what I'm making is something that I can stand behind. And it was also kind of a financial thing where I'm like, listen, man, if I make like these clickbaity videos, I know that they're going to appeal to dudes that just got off work at their accounting firm, and they probably don't listen to a lot of street rap. But I'm also like, but they gravitate towards what I do, and they're the people that are DMing me saying I love your stuff. They're the people that are showing up to shows. So there is an element of that where I'm like, all right, like I can do this and feel fine about it, and it's gonna look, the optics of it are definitely corny in certain ways, but that was also in a lot of ways deliberate because I see what I'm working with, I see what I look like, I hear what I sound like. And I'm like, so there's only so much I can do with this. So it was really more like feeling like I can stand on the things that I make and getting behind it.
You essentially capitalize off of your self-awareness.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think there was a level of awareness where I'm like, come on, man, like look at yourself, look at what you look like, listen to your voice. There's nothing I can do about it. And then also growing up in the Midwest and seeing people like Atmosphere put thousands of people in venues, and they're all white people with good families that grew up a certain way. And I'm like, there's a whole audience of people that they don't need to hear the street shit, even at the level of like Eminem, where it's like the kid that came up around black folks. Like these are people that are like just fine if you're a white rapper. And the interesting thing is that I came up battling black rappers and came up around black folks, and it's still like, that's still not the audience of people that I've ever been able to resonate with. And it's just something that I'm fine with. Like it's the corny thing. It's like, yeah, that's just going to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And I'm good with it.
So do you ever have any notable like YouTube rap beefs prior to the Tom MacDonald thing, which obviously has gone on to become a pretty big storyline?
So not there weren't YouTube beefs. Not beefs, battles, but I've never had beef with anybody. Yeah. No, I don't think so.
It was always like for you, it's always just been you and other like MCs.
Yeah, like Thesaurus or Illmaculate or somebody just battling them, and then them having their own careers that they built up. But I've never had any static with anybody. And I try to get along with everybody. That's the thing that's kind of funny about it, is like, I'm not a dude that wants to have confrontation. I had beef with somebody in Kansas City growing up as a rapper there, another local rapper, and that turned into like violence. But he's not even he's on Tech Nine's first album, but it's like, that's not even a thing that anybody would know about. So that's like the extent of my rap beefs outside of this.
Let me find out you were beefing with Bell Bacardi.
I wouldn't beef with Bell Bacardi. Good on that.
But it's funny.
The KCOG.
It's funny
that you know that.
It's funny you didn't do a lot of that, because like from the perspective of like a kid who was trying to like reverse engineer your career, that would be the most obvious thing to go to, is like, oh, I'm going to just basically pick at a lot of other people in the scene who are already successful to get their fan base to pay attention to them.
It's always been like that, regardless if it's, drill rappers or, backpack MCs. It's always that's been a formula.
If you want to be something, you have to like allow the audience to contrast and compare you to people that are more successful than you in that genre.
Yeah. And taking off on somebody and starting a beef with them is like it's a oldest trick in the book. Like 50 made a huge career off of doing that. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Adam, what are your thoughts on Tom MacDonald?
Okay, I got to hear how this started before I can offer up my critique. So, okay, who fired the first shot? Because he comes along at some point, because you're seeing, I'm sure the space was like evolving before he even came along. You're starting to see more and more people that are doing some of the things that you're doing and experiencing success and everything.
Yeah, so he fired the first shot based off of a vague tweet, and it was so long ago, and I don't have Twitter anymore, but it was something to the effect of, it was about like white MAGA rappers. It was, I can't remember what it went.
I think it was around the time he put out that White Boy song.
Yeah. So it was that. It was like a critique of that or something like that. Or it might have even been about another rapper. I can't remember, but it was something like that, where it started based off of a tweet that didn't say his name, and then he fired the first shot. So he did a diss track. I did one back, and then he did another one. And at the time, my father was in the hospital, and I knew I didn't have the energy for it. I was like, I don't think that Tom MacDonald is a good rapper. I don't respect him as an artist. I think he's like, dude, like, I'm calling him corny, like me of all people calling him corny. And he's not of the culture. He doesn't understand the culture. He didn't come up in the culture. And I'm like, I'm good on this. And it was the first time I've ever given somebody a pass before, but I was like, I'm good on this. And then a few years went by, and then recently he came out with a song where he says something to the effect of him ending my career and causing a divorce in my life and all these things that are all cap. And I was, my dad is in a much better place now, and I had much more energy in me. And I was like, oh, word, that's what we're doing. And for the record, him and I talked multiple times and squashed it.
That's what you said in the diss track.
And it showed all these like Instagram comments in one of his songs of you guys kind of like squashing it at a certain point, right?
I can show you like screenshots of DMs where it's like, hey, man, good luck on your tour. Like, congrats on the new album. He said, hey, I hope if we're in the same city one day, you and I can get together and shake hands. Like, we squashed it. We put it behind us.
How did y'all squash it?
We just messaged, and it was like, look, man, like I sent him a message because I was like, I'm not going back and forth with this dude. I think he's corny. I don't want to do this, whatever. And was dealing with shit in my personal life. I'm like, I know what I can do. I don't need this mother. I don't need to prove it to this mother or his fans. So I messaged him. I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, man, I just wanted to say, like, no bad blood, all good, like, don't trip, like, I came up battling, it's all good, we're fine, don't even. And he wrote back, and he was really nice, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, we followed each other, we messaged, and he was like, hopefully one day if we're in the same city, we can shake hands, we can talk. I was like, only under the condition that I can buy you a beer. Like, it was jovial. We were like super friendly, all this stuff.
And so then what did he say about you more recently?
So years go by, and we've liked each other's posts, followed. He eventually...
this is 5 years ago was your initial...
Yeah, because he had multiple diss tracks about you at that time.
Yeah, a couple. And then he subbed me in a couple songs. Like, people have sent me some songs where he didn't say my name, but he like would reference me and then like not say my name, and people would send it, and I'm still just like, I'm good. Like, I don't care about this dude. Like, I don't care how big he is. His fans aren't hip-hop fans. They're not the people that I care about. And I'm like, so over the years, even though we've talked, followed each other, liked each other's posts, messaged each other, super friendly to each other, he would sub me a couple times. But then recently, he said some slick shit on a new song that he has it's called God Mode, and he says that he ended my career, caused a divorce in my life.
Is that the terrible video where he's like wearing all like the Gucci?
Bro,
like, he's trying to be cool. Like
he's dude. Oh my god, man. The braids and the like Marilyn Manson contacts, he looks, and then the Gucci, and he's like, he raps about like, he's like here
looks
for
like the Juggalo parody,
bro.
Like literally,
Juggalos are like more authentic,
way
because
more authentic.
Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
it's like
way more.
He's rapping for like the working man and like the hard working farm dude out in rural America in Gucci, like top to bottom.
Well, him also.
You don't know it's a Kid Rock doing that, right?
No, right? Yeah. But it's all the tropes that he pretty much rallied against for the entirety of his career. Like all these like black rappers from the hood saying the N-word and talking about killing people and selling drugs. Well, this is how real hip hop is supposed to be. Yeah. And then he literally is like rapping about money and flossing.
That's what he does. He flosses on all the like he trashes all these stereotypes of hip hop, and then he has a grill in his mouth and braids and Balenciaga, and talks about how much money I got $30 million, and I'm like, so, hang on a minute, like, so,
I was his first interview when he moved to LA back in 2015 when I worked for Alki.
Holy shit.
On film on TV, and he was this is like prior to the whole MAGA arc, so he was just kind of just like,
it's what I heard that he used to be a different rapper. I get a lot of messages from
he had like it was almost like a Yellow Wolfish.
Yeah, my early memories of him were just him. His thing has always kind of been like white grievance stuff, like just talking about how it's kind of shitty being a white guy.
Before that though, like around the time I interviewed him, and he spit a freestyle on there and all that, and he was dope. But it was kind of just like he was trying the whole I'm like a redneck white trash rapper, like I'm going fishing and grandma's cooking up the hog.
Well, he kind of had the same transformation that you had to a certain extent, where he kind of realized like like the core of hip hop is not really going to give a fuck about me, so I'm going to have to speak to my own people to an extent.
Yes. But he went way.
Well, I think he figured out what worked for him for sure. Yeah.
That he did. I get a lot of messages from his old fans. So people that are like, I used to be a fan of his before he took the MAGA arc. Yeah, every day, like daily messages of people that used to with his old stuff. I haven't heard his old stuff. It
wasn't bad. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, okay. Like I wasn't really quite sure where it was gonna fit into the landscape, and like he wasn't cracking 2,000 views at the time. Him and his girlfriend were a group together. They were called like BFGF or some shit.
The same girl he's still with now.
The same girl he's still with now. You feel me? Like
who I don't have a very high opinion of because I was just listening to you talk shit about her. I don't know anything about her. I have no clue.
Well, I'll tell you this. At the time, she was way more popping than him.
Oh,
like
shit.
she had she probably had like 80,000, 100,000 followers, and he had like 5,000.
Wow.
Like at the time.
Wow, that's crazy. And then he surpassed her. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, so
that's a real one holding her down, though.
That's real shit. Yeah, he had to.
So he said some slick shit recently in a song, and I was like, all right, man, like we're gonna reopen this. I don't care that it's been however many years it's been. It's like I've always known in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, if I really wanted to do this with you, you're not going to be able to withstand what I can bring to you. And so
you spazzed.
Thank you. I think so too. And I got more. Like that's the thing. And I don't know if he'll respond. He probably can't. He's kind of in a lose-lose, which I get. I understand.
Which I got that from listening to some of his other recent music, is that he very much feels like he can't really like do battle with people because his fan base is so big at this point that it's like he's shining too much light on people. If he
then don't call people out, motherfucker.
But to me, that's what offended me the most, is him saying that I'm the reason. Like, I don't know if he said I'm the reason, but saying like, oh, I can't battle anymore because I destroyed someone's career and all this stuff. And it's like, hold on. Like, I still sell out shows. I still go on tour. I still do everything I was doing before. And so you're dissing me as a way to say that you can't diss people anymore. So it's like it's this weird like multi-dimensional thing where he's like, I don't want to battle anymore. I can't diss anybody, but also taking a shot under it. So I was like,
alluding to being the like a divorce. Like,
yeah, man, insane. And like talking shit about somebody's family and like all this stuff, and it's like, hold on, bro. Like, let's get this straight. It was very, on my part, unfortunate timing, personal shit going on, but I didn't feel threatened by him. I didn't look at him as a rapper where I'm like, it's not like Benny the Butcher dissed me and I'm like, yeah, I gotta figure out how to respond to this. What do I do here? It's Tom MacDonald. Like, I'm like, of all people, like I've battled Immaculate Legends before, and this dude, it's like I'm fine. Like I'm gonna be just fine. So I let it slide, and then I thought we were cool. And I'm like, all right, like it's good, whatever. His fans are his fans. They're rabid. They're awful, but I'm fine with it. They're gonna DM me talking shit, and every single one of them has 3 teeth and like can't properly formulate sentences, and they like, I'm fine with all that.
They're mad there's no Confederate flag emoji. Like,
wait, okay, so give me your honest, real opinion, because as I was going through and listening to like 4 or 5 recent Tom MacDonald songs, I will say that there are many, many aesthetic decisions about his content and even like his marketing, like the way he promotes his merch, etc., that I find deeply cringe. But he does seem like he's rapping very well. Like, he seems like a very good rapper from my perspective. Now, you guys are also elite rappers like him, I guess. So, like, you guys, give me your opinion. Do you think he's very, very talented?
I think that he's good at sounding like his influences, which is Eminem. And I don't know if there's other rappers that he even listens to, because to me he just sounds like a like diet version of Eminem, mixing his content with like, you know, like Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson talking points.
Well, in some cases, literally.
Fuck.
Yo, that has to be one of the most cringe songs in hip hop history. Dude. The song with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
oh my god, dude! Like,
not Benny the Butcher, Benny Shapiro.
man. They're like, dude, like his merch, like it's everything from like if you look at just the graphic designs of his merch and just the contacts and the braids, it's so cringy. It's so cheesy. It's like he's unaware of how corny it is. Like putting putting Ben Shapiro on a song. The idea for him is like, ooh, this will be edgy and this will offend everybody. And my thing is like, nobody is offended by you. You're not controversial. We're not hearing this like, oh my God, he's destroying people that lean left and destroying the system. No, you're just corny. It's just really, really, really corny. And as a rapper, technically, he's not terrible. I don't think he's a bad rapper.
He's definitely proficient.
He understands. He understands like multi-syllables and how to record. I think his beats are really generic. I think that his subject matter is just he's just a lot of things that are very cringy. And do I respect his skill as a rapper? Yeah, sure. But everything else is where I'm like, man, like, please, God, stop making music. Like,
he's like if the racist white character in the Joyner Lucas "I'm Not a Racist" video was an actual artist.
But then also
that would be Tom MacDonald.
But then also like the auto tune that he like uses it in a way that isn't pleasing to the ear. It's like it just sounds bad, and but
it does resonate with a lot of people for whatever reason.
For sure.
And I don't know if it's just the edginess. There's a certain like combination of.
I think it's probably people that don't have a lot of exposure to rap music that like the way that rap music sounds, but there may be, and I don't want to like, this is not an indictment on them, but if I had to guess, it's people that grew up listening to, like country music and rock music, and they would hear rap and be like, they're just talking about things that I don't resonate with politically from a societal standpoint. And then this dude comes along making what somewhat sounds like, I mean, it sounds like rap music, but then he's talking about all of the things that they align with politically. So it gives them the opportunity to connect with a rapper. And
because I said that I thought that the new Eminem single is like one of the worst rap songs I've ever heard in my entire life. But the fact that it is so unbelievably successful, it's his most popular song in like 10 plus years.
Wow.
That makes complete sense to me when you think about the Tom MacDonald thing, because I feel like he's hitting on very similar impulses.
The general consensus of that Eminem track is that it's awful.
Right.
If you go beyond his overwhelmingly huge echo chamber of a fan base.
But you could try to please the critics, or you could try to please the people. And, Tom MacDonald has clearly made his choice in that sense. It's weird because it's like there are some lyrical themes that he hits on that I think deserve to be examined a little bit more, such as like white people who have this sort of like self-hating thing.
Yeah, sure.
Like I find it interesting that he talks about those things. It's just like the presentation. He has a song called Race War that I was just listening to with Adam Calhoun.
Yeah, see, like you're doing songs with guys like that.
I mean, just like I gave it a shot. It's just like, to me, it's very, very cringe. I do think he's clearly like hitting a nerve. He's doing something that's like very important to a lot of people, and I definitely think it needs to be examined, even though myself, I don't really care for it.
Yeah, no, same. And I can definitely see why it works. Like, it's not, I'm not like dumbfounded that it's successful. It's obviously successful for a reason. As you said, it hits that nerve, and there's a demographic of people that I just don't think have a lot of exposure to rap music that hear that and they're like, ooh, shit, there's a rapper I get to listen to, and he agrees with all the things that I believe.
What are the chances you think that this dude, because I don't know if you caught it, Max said he's down to put up 50 bands, take the battle, the king of the dot, you know what I'm saying?
He said, you said that you're down for that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you think that that's going to, I mean.
He doesn't.
He has nothing to gain from that, right?
Probably not. Probably nothing to gain unless he wanted to raise money for charity and he really wanted to stand on business when it came to like proving if he was a worthy competitor with me. I also think that he knows that he can't function in the battle rap environment. That's like not a thing he came up doing. And that's a difficult place. I mean, you've seen people fall apart. Yeah. If shit starts going sideways in a battle and you start feeling you start getting sweaty and feeling the heat of everybody going like, oh, this guy's he's
You have to have an unbelievably strong sense of self.
Yes, very much so.
And you could have a whole room full of people turning on you in real time, and you have to kind of like maintain who you feel like you are in your head.
And there's a mentality to it that would, I'm not saying that battle rappers are the same, but there is a like almost like being in a sports game or something that you have to have composure in a way where if stuff turns sideways and goes bad, you have to be able to figure out a way to turn the momentum back. And there's a lot of people that struggle with that. And if you've never done it before, that is a nightmare for you. So if he gets out and battles me, and we're in Canada, which is where he's from, and this is where I offered to battle him, he strangely has huge interest in American culture, even though he's from Canada, which is another thing. But I wanted to battle him in Canada. I was like, let's battle him. We'll do it anywhere in Canada. We'll do it where you're from. We'll go to your hometown and we'll battle there. And I still know, and I think he knows, that if we battled in that type of environment, that once he hears everybody cheer for me and I say some shit and everybody starts cheering, and he's going to have to respond to that, and he's not built for that. And maybe he is. Maybe he wants to do it. I doubt it.
You alluded to having heard a demo of some sort that he sent to Eminem in Aftermath that he was trying to get.
No.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, basically what happened was
this shit is so corny, dude.
Eminem put a beat. He basically released a beat or whatever, like for sale. And Tom MacDonald spent, like, was it 100 bands?
100 bands.
Yeah, 100 bands on the beat. It was like, it wasn't an NFT, but it was that.
It was presented as like it was when NFTs were hot.
Okay. Yeah.
So Eminem comes out with this beat, and he's like, if you want to rap to an Eminem beat, spend $100,000 and Eminem will have produced one of your tracks, and it'll be produced by Eminem. You can do whatever. And it was sold as an NFT. And Tom MacDonald bought the beat for $100,000 and made a song called like "I Love." What is it called?
He basically proceeded to suck his dick.
He made a song.
Wax.
So you know the song.
Yeah,
you know the song "Stan" that Eminem made. Yeah. So he is like Stan in the song.
Yeah.
So, and it's like a song where he's like, I love you so much, Eminem, you're so amazing. And but it's like from the perspective of Tom MacDonald being a diehard Eminem fan.
You made it okay for me to be white.
This sounds extremely cringe.
It's painfully cringe. Like
but
like,
his fans ate it up.
Really?
He probably made.
So he
back.
put this out.
Yeah.
Like with a video, like there's a video of him like rapping like "Dear Eminem, I love you so much," and it's to a beat that Eminem sold to whoever wanted to buy it. So it's not like Eminem produced the track. Eminem put out the beat, NFT. Tom MacDonald bought it for 100 bands and then made a song about Eminem saying "I love you so much."
And so, do you know of what Eminem's reaction to this was?
I do. I do.
Who's the mole?
I can't. Yeah, off camera.
Okay.
Yeah, off camera.
If you listen to the diss track, he alludes to it.
But how would you summarize Eminem's reaction
Just
to it?
like immediately stop, please. Like it was basically like uncomfortable. I don't want to hear it.
I'm uncomfortable even just hearing it. Like, if you were to start like heaping praise on me for a couple minutes, I would feel deeply uncomfortable. Now, doing it to song. Yeah, that sounds way worse.
And a beat that you made where like not only that, but you're getting paid 100 bands for it, and he comes out with it. Like, can you imagine?
You could have done anything.
You could have done anything. You could have made a song about anything and said produced by Eminem. Fire. You got an Eminem track. Instead, he makes it about Eminem and talks about how much he loves Eminem.
How I'm basically your reincarnation.
It's so painfully fucking corny to listen to. It's like, wow. Could you imagine ever doing that with anybody?
No. If you meet somebody that you really look up to, you need to like play it cool.
Yeah, play it cool.
You know, if you're going to express to them that you're a massive lifelong fan and you spent thousands of hours of your life listening to them, you got to still get it across in a way that like allows them to respect you.
Like, 100%. Hey, I fuck with you heavy, bro. Like I've been slapping your shit.
Because we all love our fans, the people that we would put into the fan category, but we also all know what it's like to have somebody glaze you.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah, and it's like you love it, you respect it so much, but you also like understand what that is. It's that like, you know, you're very special to them and you appreciate it, you respect it, but that's not how you approach somebody that you want to be peers with.
Absolutely not. No, it's painful, and it would make anybody uncomfortable, and same reaction.
Because I talk shit about Tom MacDonald, I think, on YouTube in like 2016, 2017, and then like a couple of years ago, I hit him up on Instagram thinking like, this would be great. Like, got to do an interview. There's so much good shit that we could talk about. This would be.
Did he block you?
He didn't block me, but he just like didn't respond, which I was kind of surprised because I was like, this seems like a good opportunity.
Man, I was gonna ambush this fool like because we still followed each other when like the controversy after he dropped that song came out. It was first going viral, and I was like, yo, like I had a radio show at the time. I was like, come by the show. I'd love to interview you, bro. I want you to tell your side.
You were gonna Charlemagne him?
Oh yeah, I was about to line this fool up.
Oh my God.
It was about to be all biz ed, but like, yeah, he wound up. At first he was like, yeah, bro, but then I just couldn't. I think eventually he started like not responding. I was like, yeah, this fool. So,
I wonder if he even really like wants to do like hip hop stuff like that. Like, I don't think he wants to go on the Breakfast Club.
He doesn't do really too much media. Period.
Yeah, no, I think from what I understand, not only does he not do media, he doesn't do performances anymore either. I don't think he leaves the house.
Really?
I don't think so, man. I think from what I understand from the people I've spoken to, and I haven't said everything that I can say. I have some shit.
Because your video ends to be continued.
And the to be continued, it gets way worse for him. Ooh. And so like I have, like, I'm not going to say anything, but it's like that was just the appetizer for what I have, because I know a lot of people that know him, that have turned on him, that have worked with him, whatever it is, however you want to cut it. And as far as I know, I will say this, he doesn't leave the house, scared of his fans, he doesn't do shows anymore simply because he wants to avoid interacting with people. So it's why you don't see media like that. Yeah, he just makes his money off of his fans and
he doesn't want to be in an environment where he can be questioned and have to, like, you know what I mean?
Right, because I mean, once you have a loyal fan base and they are eating your shit up and you're making a lot of money, you do sort of start to realize, like, oh, any new uncontrolled environment that I put myself into is a potential bad thing. Like, I think that's why you haven't seen Drake do almost any interviews throughout his career, is that he realizes that they can very easily hurt him and that they, for the most part, are not going to help him.
Yeah, and especially now where there's so many different questions you could ask him.
And now is he has so many reasons not to now. Yeah.
Imagine Tom MacDonald sitting down with Poetic Flacco.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he of course he wouldn't go on the Breakfast Club because Charlemagne's immediately going to put him on the grill.
Yeah. He's donkey of the day.
He has no reason not to be as harsh as possible. Whatever he did to Post Malone is going to look like nothing.
Oh, God, dude. Yeah. And roast him would be awful.
But you'd think that there's got to be some like friendly platforms that he
Post
could
Malone
insert
is
himself
like
into.
Malcolm X compared to Tom MacDonald.
Because I would give Tom MacDonald a very, very fair interview. I'm definitely not going to use it as an opportunity to just shit on him or whatever. You know?
Yeah, and that's a responsibility and ethics as an interviewer for sure. I mean, he deserves the right to speak his mind and say the things that he wants to say, and it is what it is. Like, for me as a person, I just think that if you're going to be a part of this culture, you have to have some sort of root in it, in my opinion. And to me, he has always come off as somebody that didn't start rapping until like the second Eminem album and didn't grow up around anybody that understood rap music or hip hop, and that's why he's so cringy, and that's why he makes the creative decisions that he makes, is because he's not of the culture. And it's not a white thing. It's not like, oh, I think he should feel bad for being a white rapper, but you at least have to understand in hip hop and in rap culture why it started, who started it, and what your role can be. And there has to be some sort, in my opinion, some sort of respect for the roots of this. I'm not saying we all need to be backpack rappers and shit like that. We don't. In fact, I listen to a lot of more of the rap I listen to anymore would be people that would be guests on this show. That's just the shit that I like. I still think that everybody should at least have a level of respect for the culture, whatever that means. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I think that so much time has gone by. Like, I think that it's never a negative thing for an artist. You know, like, like it's always going to add. Even if you choose to not go in that direction, there could be like a little influence, a little nuance that you take from it. Yeah, I feel like it is important to carry on the history. Now, like, it's difficult to tell that to a 17-year-old kid, right? You know, fresh off the block, but you know.
But like, if you're fresh off the block, you're from the place that it started anyway, right. So you're by default rooted in hip hop.
If you're a Tom MacDonald type dude who grew up in rural BC and came up as a wrestler,
exactly.
That fool's and the thing is this: there's other fools from British Columbia. That's you got Swollen Members, you got Mocha Only, you got Snack the Ripper. I think Mercules might be from there too.
Shout out to Mercules.
Shout out Mercules.
Yeah, shout out to Mercules.
So,
yeah.
I would have a Fire Mercules interview under my belt if he didn't have a herpes outbreak.
Is that what happened?
Many years ago, he had to cancel an interview, and that was the excuse he gave, which never got rescheduled. I don't know if this has been like a 6-year herpes outbreak.
now that my boy's on death row, I know he's going to be hitting the West Coast at some point soon.
Wait, is he really?
He's on death row.
He's on death row.
He's official. Like he's in like the pictures.
Did he get chained? Like Snoopy?
I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he did.
He's on tour with Snoop right now.
He's on tour with Snoop right now. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Shout out to Mercules.
Shout out to Merc.
Yeah, great guy, by the way.
I'm just saying, there's an incredible human. And like, I would love to have him on here. You feel me? Chop it up with Merc. But the thing is, there's a lot of dope rappers from out there where in the same general region that Tom is from. So it's like, and these dudes all did their homework on the culture.
Yeah.
And lifelong. But it's beyond that. Like you said, Adam, if I were to sit down with Tom at this point, I would be able to have a fair, dope conversation with him. But like there would have to be some real talk, and I would love to hear what he has to say about all this shit.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I would be able to do that, but there would have to be real talk, and that's what it is. And it's just like
and you said you'd beat his ass too.
I mean, if in a sanctioned fight, like that's like I'm not gonna walk up and.
The jiu-jitsu guy, right?
Yeah, I'm a brown belt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. You still train all the time?
Yeah. I've trained for 14 years, so it's
sick.
Yeah.
That's funny how that completely like changes how I feel about somebody's like energy, knowing that about them. Of just like, oh, okay, you're a silent killer.
Yeah, something like that, man.
Damn. Imagine if we got all the drill rappers to just start rolling.
Oh, dude,
choking each other out.
That would be. It'd be great for the music and for them.
I don't feel like they would respect the tap.
They'd sit there and just fight.
We're gonna get a lot of full arm bars, just like really crank that shit back.
That'd be great, man.
Oh man, so okay, like you
imagine the dances the Bronx drill rappers
in their geese. Oh man, there's something there.
Yeah, there is something.
A bunch of dudes wearing geese on the street corner doing drill rap.
Funny, man.
I'm kind of with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with it too.
But okay, that's the first video you posted on your channel in like over 2 years, right?
Yeah, like a year, I think. So the Kansas City Royals baseball team, they paid me great money to do a video for them last year. They reached out and they're like, hey, could you do a video for the upcoming season? So that's the last thing I uploaded. Okay. And then I moved from Kansas City to Chicago, and that was such a crazy experience that I haven't been active. But it's like, it wasn't like a thing where it's like I'm not posting or anything. It was just time got away from me, and like now I'm more set and capable of I have a bunch of ideas chambered that I'm going to get back to. So
do you have any insecurity about leaving your fan base for that long, or do you feel like they are resilient?
I think that they're resilient. I have cats that have been with me for a very long time, and I think that the way YouTube works, the algorithm, you're going to lose people if you're inactive because they're not, you got to have multiple videos to get people to click through and all that shit. But
when you upload regularly, you like become part of their day quite often. And that's what kind of goes away as time goes by.
Yeah, and I think that's probably like, I knew coming back, I'm like, all right, so one thing I'm going to have to deal with is the channel is just a little cold right now. But I've also many times over known the proper steps to take to make people click shit, and then I'll get it back. Like I'm not. That's the one thing I'm like, it'll be fine. And it's just being consistent and being different and giving people a reason to click and engage with your content.
And not many people can do that, like disappear and come back. And also, like, I think all of us can say this. There's like the generation of people that we looked up to that are maybe like 45 to 55 years old, let's say, or whether it be BMX and you feel me, death metal and punk rock or hip hop, whatever. There's all these legends that just miss the internet, that are like legendary figures and these story mythical creatures that we all look up to, that like don't exist as far as there's no real record of them. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's certain BMX dudes that you're like, that dude was the joint, but there's like maybe one video.
Yeah, I go search their name on YouTube. But a lot of the old punk bands that I like.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
forget the old ska bands from my childhood that I go to try to look up, and it's like one re-upload of a music video like filmed off the TV, dude. And I'm like, fuck, this was the coolest band in the world
like,
to me in 8th grade.
Where's the Pinkerton Thugs? Let me find that. You feel me?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is like so poorly archived, and there's just nobody like really concerned with it, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think about NoFX breaking up or like calling it a day?
Crazy. I mean, if they actually stay broken up, they'll be like the only punk band to actually stay broken up. But from what I understand, it's basically a situation where like Big Mike was the one who made the call. The rest of the band like wanted to keep earning on the road. He's the one who's got the bread. He's kind of just like, I'm over it, man. Yeah. They're all bummed. He's like, I'm 56, dude. Like, I got enough money. I don't got to do shit. I'm gonna stay home. Because like, even when you were talking about Tom MacDonald and the touring thing, it's like, I could definitely understand the appeal of getting to stay the fuck home and make music videos.
It'd be way better. Yeah,
I would still want, if I was in his position, I'd still want to tour a bit, but not a ton.
Yeah, do like 7 shows here, then but not doing it at all. I wouldn't want to do, but it sucks having to go on these 46 show grinds to make your money. It's not fun, and I like doing the shows, but sometimes that's a thing that's necessary where I'm like, I got to go out here in 6 weeks and earn my money for the year, and it's like,
how often do you do that now?
Like once or twice a year. COVID the whole game up. Like not only did COVID it up for me individually as an artist, like I had to cancel a tour during, like, we were halfway through a 50-show tour and they announced that like the NBA was closing, or the NBA was shutting down for the season, and we had to cancel 27 shows, and I'm still not 100% sure that it's rebounded, like venues and live music.
Yeah, I don't think interrupted everything.
I think people still just, they got on their phones, they're heavy on social media, they get home after a hard day of work and they just lay on the couch and look at their phone, and going out is like that. Like, I
could say for sure, having a store on Melrose, that the appetite for leaving the house and going and having real life activities has massively depleted.
Crazy.
It's not like it's gone. It's just like,
it's not what it
and
used
I think that there was a big expectation, like the rap festivals and shit were going to reach the level that they were at before, and I think that there's been a lot of rude awakenings in that regard. Man. Even a lot of the huge rappers, Dirk and Future and shit, you hear about them having a hard time selling out tours that they used to be able to sell out. And like, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the underground hip hop that we grew up on and like we're a part of, do you feel like that scene is effectively gone?
I think that people that are in their 40s, they have kids that are, some of these people have kids that are in high school now. And it's like he was talking about, like the appetite for when you're 43 years old going out and no disrespect to like Brother Ali or something, but it's like he's probably a Brother Ali probably has a bunch of fans that with his music heavy on the way to work and stuff, but he pulls into town on Wednesday and they're like, man, I got to wake up tomorrow, I got a big presentation tomorrow. So I don't think that it's necessarily like the scene in terms of like live and just like a community.
That's what I'm saying, the community element. Because like, look, there's still fools that rap over boom bap beats. Like, there's that kid Lord Sco. There's a bunch of like youngsters that still be flipping that style.
Yeah,
but it's completely like removed from like this pre-existing circuit.
I'll say this, man, like we're talking about NoFX here, and like, those dudes are in their 50s now, and like they're certainly not as hot as they were when like Punk and Drublick came out or something like that. Right. And it's like, I think that that's also a necessary and important part of being an artist. And I know as somebody that's 42, I'm not grasping onto the idea of being like, one day I'm going to sell out these venues. I'm like, I did my thing. I'm still doing it in the way that I can, but I think it's important for older artists to get the out of the way. Like, it's all these kids, give them the opportunity to come up and see what they can do with music. In a big way, I think music is a young person's sport. That's when you love music the most. It's the young people make the most interesting music still. I don't care how talented you are. Nothing is going to sound as raw as some 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, Nas when he's 20 straight out the projects.
Man, like, look, bro, I love Nas. I didn't even listen to all of them. I know he went on like a 6-album run recently.
Yeah.
I've listened to a few of the songs. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I listened to Nas when in 94.
Right.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I think that scenes should dissipate at some point. I think that it's healthy because it gives everybody, it gives all the young 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids their opportunity to sell the clubs out. And you bring your fans out and do what, you know, hopefully you don't get too hard into drugs and die at an untimely early age, but go out there and make your money and tear the roof off and give these young people something that they can believe in, because that's when it's supposed to happen. You know, you get to my age, like, man, I'm 42.
Well,
like,
you all, when you were doing the label thing and you had Black Clover,
yeah,
you know, which I'm pretty sure you still have Black Clover.
Yeah, I mean, I just put my own stuff out. I tried to have other artists. I realized it's way more work. It's just too much. Dealing with a bunch of different personalities is like.
So you don't have an interest in mentoring another. Like,
no, and I have love for all the artists that I worked with, and I put some cool people on and took them on
out a lot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You had Prof on the other day. He was never signed to my label, but I believe, I don't want to misspeak because I got a lot of love for Prof and Stop House. We've done a lot of work together. I've played. They do like 5, 6, 10,000 people in Minneapolis. Like they're doing their thing. But I want to say that I took Prof on his first nationwide tour. Oh, wow. Like when we were playing, like, this is like 2008, where like 30 people in Rock Island, Illinois, and playing like, and I remember watching him destroy, like, incredible performer, and nobody knew who he was, and like we had no followers, like you know, and I think I took him on his first tour. Macklemore opened for us at one point.
Yeah,
like
same thing. Macklemore used to open up for us.
Yeah, dude. Like and everybody's done their thing, and we're still doing it in a lot of ways. But I think that it's good. I think that you gotta pass the baton, man. You can't be that 42-year-old rapper still trying to, I'm relevant and all this. Like, that, man. Like I'm gonna do what I can until I can't. But I want to see the young people come up. I want to get out of the way. You know what I mean?
So what do you, from your perspective, what's like the next year of your content and what you're going to be doing with yourself look like?
I got to figure out, like, the thing that I'm on right now is trying to understand, like, differentiate between, like how does a musician in general, let alone a rap musician, let alone somebody that's been around as long as I have, how do you fit in to a world where 40 million new videos and clips are uploaded every single day? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that you have to deal with this in your own, where you're running this platform. And
used to be a lot easier to get some views.
Used to be a lot easier to get some views. It really did, man.
There's a lot more competition these days. Yeah.
It is, man. And it's you're not only competing with people that do it professionally, but you're competing with people that just do it for fun, where it's like they're at a restaurant and some funny shit happens with one of their friends and they upload it and 70 million people see it. It doesn't matter if it was intentional. They're still taking eyes and they are looking at their phone, seeing that content. And you're up against those people now.
Yeah, Hawk Twa is more popping than anything.
Bro, like, right, she's the king of the fucking internet right now, and she didn't even mean to do it.
And think about any individual piece of news that comes out within hip hop. It's like you used to kind of need somebody like Academics to make a video breaking it down for you, and then he would profit, you know, maybe a couple $1,000 off that video. Mm-hmm. Now there's a race from people who are doing like unpaid labor to get that footage out there on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, so that like even Academics making those short videos where he would break down hip hop news feels like buying a newspaper in comparison, the whole Drake and Kendrick thing, he was sitting on stream breaking shit down to the point where it made all the other commentators in hip hop kind of feel useless because he was doing it in real time.
Yeah,
you know?
and what he had to, and lucky for him,
we're losing 40,000 views on our stream
for sure.
But he also has the one thing that he has is Kendrick literally mentions him on a song, and he's directly tied into Drake, so it's a different. But in terms,
that just shows like how far this shit could go. Is that you're not just a YouTuber, you could just be directly tapped in, which with is the
crazy,
superstars,
which is crazy, yeah. And that's a new breed, a different breed of person for sure.
We would never have pictured that 10 years ago.
No.
The biggest rappers in the world are going to be DMing YouTubers telling them about what they're going to put in their diss tracks before they come
like
out.
Kendrick saying fucking Ack is compromised on one of the songs. Like, Jesus Christ, he's mentioning a YouTuber is like a baked into the battle now. Like, and calling him compromised like he's a fucking like a rogue spy or something like that.
Like nobody was really surprised.
That's the other thing. You heard it and you're like, Ack looks compromised.
But where we get our news and our media, and there is no more websites like the Not Right, Two Dope Boys.
Not a thing anymore.
That era is.
I wish.
I love that shit.
I miss that shit.
I miss that too, man. The blog era was fun.
I miss gatekeeping.
Yeah, it was fun.
Gatekeeping was nice until it was gone.
Yeah. Now, but like you said something that's an interesting point, which is something that I'm having a difficult time with, which is the unpaid labor. And I think that it's like baked into the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok model is they're going like, okay, we could pay Adam 22 an exorbitant amount of money to build this platform, or we could just have Stick over here that has 1,000 followers do a video and we don't even have to pay him. And this motherfucker is way more willing to do that shit because he's just trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. He doesn't care about the money, taking care of his family, paying his mortgage, paying rent on his facility. You got all these kids coming up and all these people that are willing to do it for free. And it's like you're battling people not only that are making content, but they don't give a about making it as a career. They just want to do it to do it. And you're like, the competition is crazy.
Man, I get it too, because it's like, if I was in high school right now, I would for sure be a kid running multiple meme pages and fan accounts and, you know, just doing whatever, trying to get any kind of viral momentum going. And like, you see certain people who are able to be like a commentator and then they like can kind of evolve out of that into like an actual personality, but they start out like, I've seen a lot of rappers who started out as meme pages. Lil Nas X was a Nicki Minaj meme page, allegedly. He tries to deny it. I believe it's true.
Oh, no, for sure it was.
The evolution is crazy because it puts people in this position where it's like you have to make this jump where you're doing it for fun as an amateur, and then you reach this certain income level or this certain status when you have to make the jump to do it professionally, and that's when all the pressure comes. And that's when it gets harder and harder. And then, as we were talking about earlier, just the longevity of maintaining it through the changes of all these platforms and dying and being reborn from the ashes over and over again. And now we're in this era where it's like, how do you navigate this? Let me ask you, like, how do you feel? Like, what is your trajectory for you? Like, what do you see? What is your...
Sometimes it's hard to see because I kind of like have my head down in the content so much. But even in the last couple of years, I've kind of like when you guys were having the conversation about signing artists, and like for me, like building out hosts on the Jumper seemed like the most obvious thing for me to be doing with my time. And as time goes by, it's kind of like, okay, maybe I don't want to build like a big media company. Maybe I just need like a couple of homies to do the podcast with. And like, I don't necessarily want to like build this huge sprawling infrastructure. It just kind of seems a little less attractive.
You created like a biosphere.
Yeah. And I've kind of seen the ups and downs of like how valuable that is.
I was going to say, so is it one of the hardest parts of that, just the different personalities and dealing with all the not even necessarily drama, but like how everybody's different. They have different needs. You have to always be appeasing different people to make sure they're all on the same page. Is that what like?
And if they get big enough, they probably want to go do their own thing. And
that creates,
and on the way out, they're probably going to shit on you. Everybody in any position of power has pretty much dealt with this, you know, which that's not the worst thing in the world, because if you have a resilient business, then it's not going to fucking matter. But there's just so much chaos and risk involved with having so many people under one roof, and especially when a lot of these people are in gangs and they have street backgrounds and existing drama between each other. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm at kind of like a weird point right now where now I just want to do like the best version of podcasting without necessarily being as concerned about the network thing, whereas like the network thing was like what defined my ambitions for years and years and years prior.
Okay, so the whole point of this, like that was the ultimate, for a long time, that was the ultimate goal, is to build this into like a media company where you like, was it
kind of, but then like the deeper into it you get, you realize that like, well, what the fuck are the media companies doing? It's just like it's just like podcasts, and then you have like social media accounts, and it's like we're kind of like ahead of the curve in terms of that, but like what else is there? Like at one point I thought it would be sick to have a website, and then you kind of drop it and you realize like, wow, we can promote the out of this and nobody wants to go to a website.
Yeah,
you know, it's like even the biggest media companies in hip hop, like what the fuck is XXL? It's a bunch of social media accounts, and then
all it is.
You know what?
And like when you look at Fox News or KTLA, whatever, is getting less views on they have less live viewers than we do.
Yeah, and they're just like. They're like No Jumper, but they have a TV deal,
right?
You know, and they're talking about different stuff, but it's
slowly but surely going away.
Like the production on a Fox News show is like not very different than like exactly what we have going right here.
No,
it's going to cost a little bit more, but it's not like once you've been in those environments, then you start to realize like, damn, this shit is like very much the same.
Yeah, it is, and it's all about attracting eyeballs, and that's all you're doing, and it's very crazy how similar it is. And then you start, it's the same argument though for labels. It's like there's a parallel to that is like media companies and labels. You just realize it's like all these are just people uploading your music and putting it out. They're just uploading content.
They're just better at doing the thing that you're already doing yourself, but they might not be that much better at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They have a little more resources, maybe better connections with certain people that are powerful, but at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I could talk to you all night, but I got another interview that I'm already 40 minutes late on, so I kind of got to pull the plug. But thank you so much.
No, thank you for having.
This is legendary shit for anyone who really cares about like rap / YouTube. Like this is an amazing conversation. I'm so happy we did this.
I am too, man. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you to Lush for providing a lot of good color commentary there. He filled in a lot of gaps of stuff that we might not have necessarily talked about otherwise.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And since nobody said it, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world.
He said it. There you go. Thank you so much, Mac Lethal. Lush One, appreciate you guys. Tom MacDonald, we're ready for you whenever you are.
Sammy McDogfart, you got to fight back.
That's right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.